All right, looks like we're live. Welcome to the Comics Aficionados. I'm Wes. This is my channel, Thinking Critical, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Marvel. And for the first time on the channel, we have Black Cap. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. How's everyone doing today?
I think everyone's
no
doing
complaints.
all right.
It's Saturday.
Not bad.
So also, on the panel, my co-host, Doc. How you doing, man?
What up, guys?
Also, our resident retail expert, Pele. What's up, man?
Oh, it's morning. I'm here.
Also, the channel's resident coffee expert, Jeremy. What's going on, buddy?
Coffee expert. It's morning. What can I say?
All right, so we're just gonna, mostly do Marvel, and then we got some stuff at the end we're gonna hit as well. But in the last 12 months, Marvel has actually taken, I wouldn't say a 180. Like 12 months ago, I think they were in really bad shape. They had very few series that I personally felt were worth reading or anything. But now, there's a lot more for readers. They brought back a lot of the characters and everything. So I think there's a lot more good right now about Marvel than there was before. And so we're going to talk about the good, we're going to talk about the bad, and at the end, we're going to talk about the ugly, the worst stuff that Marvel is still, whether it be series, creators, company policies, stuff like that. And all of us are going to have a go at it. But so it's my channel, so we're going to start out with mine. My good for Marvel is the ascension of Donny Cates and Chip Zdarsky through the Marvel ranks into higher visible properties. You got Donny Cates moved from Thanos to Venom. He's also on Guardians of the Galaxy now. They're both really good. And then Chip Zdarsky was kind of on the B level, the B title for Spider-Man and the precursor to Fantastic Four relaunch. And now he's got Daredevil and Spider-Man Life Story, which I think are both terrific.
I think Zdarsky is the biggest surprise for me because I read his Sex Criminals and that was really bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't read that.
So I'm really happy to hear he's kind of grew up a little bit.
Yeah, he's probably the best writer that they have right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Like he literally had a guy pooping in a potted plant, and I was like, "What am I fucking reading?"
That was him and Matt Fraction, right?
Yeah, him and Matt.
Yeah,
they were the dynamic duo of being really bad writers.
Oh God.
Okay, so I know there's one person that's not going to agree with everything I said. Doc, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, what are your thoughts on Chip Zdarsky and Donny Cates?
Well, other than Donny Cates being, well, he blocked me, so screw him. He's a good writer. He's a good writer. He's a dickhead, but he's a good writer. And I liked everything that I've read by him so far. So, and you know what, Chip, as long as he's not trying to be funny, he's actually a really good writer. He has no sense of humor at all, but he's also a very good writer. So I'm actually on board with both of those.
Yeah,
awesome.
He is a really good writer. I did pick up a couple of issues before I dropped Marvel completely of the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man that they had brought back. And initially they were kind of they dragged for a little bit, but then it got pretty interesting. But then I just subsequently dropped the entire book in Marvel altogether.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The last three great Marvel comics I've read are actually Spectacular Spider-Man 310, Spider-Man Life Story 1, and then this recent Daredevil 3. That's like Zdarsky's on all of them. I can't believe it. Pele, did you see this coming?
Which cover?
Oh,
sorry. I
was saying that the last three great Marvel comics I've read have all been Zdarsky. We had Spectacular Spider-Man 310.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man Life Story #1, and then Daredevil #3 this week, and they're all amazing. Did you see Zdarsky coming through like this?
I didn't. That 310 was really good. He'd been getting slowly better on Spectacular Spider-Man, and that just kind of 310 hit me out of left field. I'll be frank about it. That was just probably the best Spider-Man story I'd read in a decade, and he did the pencils, he did the writing, he did the pencils, he did everything in the damn book, colors, everything. And cover, I mean, it blew my mind. I didn't think that he was quite capable of that. And he's taken it and he's stepped forward with it. The life story is really good. I think the Captain America thing at the end is kind of horseshit, but at least it's some kind of, it energizes a little bit of that stress between Stark and Captain America. It's Steve Rogers and Tony Stark friction there. It's always kind of in the background. So, but yeah, I always thought that I don't like Zdarsky's attempts at humor. I think he kind of falls flat on his face when he tries to get funny or what he thinks is funny. But as long as he's writing within his wheelhouse and he's being himself, I think more than anything, he's doing a really good job. So kudos to him. I'm impressed.
Have you got to read this Daredevil?
Humor is not funny at all, man.
Oh yeah,
I haven't gotten to read this week's Daredevil.
Oh, it's the best one yet. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I hadn't gotten to read this week's Daredevil.
Yeah, it's really good.
I wish to God that they had gotten Zdarsky for Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, but, I wanted him on Fantastic Four because that book died on launch, didn't it?
That's so awful. I mean, every retailer I know got stuck with copies of #1 on that damn book, and
yeah, I think it's ordered like 140,000, right?
Yeah, something like 200,000. I think.
Was it even more?
But even worse. But
like 60 variants.
And I know everybody, every store that I know of still has copies like sitting in the bins. So like there's a place down the closest one, the next closest shop to mine. They have still 100 of them still in one short box, and he's trying to sell them for $1 a piece. So
that's horrible. I still have my copy when I went to the Comic-Con last year. I got it for free with an alternate cover. They basically paid homage to the original Fantastic Four #1. And I was able to get that as a grab bag gift because I was not paying for that.
I don't blame you. Because it was shit.
I read half of that issue. It was terrible. I couldn't read it.
Oh, jeez. It's like
bad.
It was the Fantastic Two.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Fantastic Two, and they weren't very fantastic. They were just
really
kind of
well.
like, they're just kind of just fucking around, not really doing anything. And oh, wait, it's the end of the issue. Hey, come back for the next issue. We're gonna get the other two guys together. Oh no. Jeez.
A lot of books are like that now, where they're just characters just not really doing much, just talking normally.
Yeah,
it's a pretty common thing now. It's really boring.
I read this
week's Detective.
I read this week's Action Comics, and Superman literally does nothing heroic other than fly to go see places and see what happens. He doesn't do anything super.
Isn't he on the Heroes in Crisis cover? And he's not in the book. That's
not a page.
He's not in the book. This was the issue where Ivy was on the cover, and it was a big deal, right?
Supposed to be Ivy, and she was
and it was like oh no, sexy cleavage dead girl. That was the big issue, right?
Yeah, stupid.
This book is just hilarious to me.
Yeah,
it's a joke. It's Tom King's
to people that don't buy it, and then they change it, and they're still not buying it. It's just so funny to me.
I saw the image of the rebirth of Poison Ivy, and she looks like one of those Titans from that anime Attack on Titan.
Yeah, no, she did because her muscle structure was all leafy, and I was like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she looked like one of those.
I mean, it just looks funny. She looks like it looks like they're trying to make a female Swamp Thing with her.
Probably as popular as Swamp Thing's been making a comeback, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
King did that special, a year ago, something like that.
Right.
He's been. I can just tell he's been wanting to do another one.
Yeah. I think, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
No, go for it, baby.
I would have picked up Fantastic Four had Jonathan Hickman been on it again, because his run was incredible. His run to the lead up of the Secret War that essentially killed the original Marvel universe. I love that whole run. And if they had brought him back to this title, I may have broken my my abstinence against Marvel. Because right now like I said, I don't pick up any Marvel books. I don't read anything from Marvel. I'll read blurbs here and there, unless there's someone important coming back or someone important writing a book that Marvel produces. I don't touch any of their stuff.
I'm with you there, man.
Dan
Like, I
Slott
just
doesn't
can't
move the
bring
needle.
myself.
What's that?
Dan Slott doesn't move the needle.
The hell no! I can't stand Dan Slott. I can't. He murdered Spider-Man. He made him a cuck. I have no respect for that man.
Don't worry.
What about what he did to
Tony
Silver
Stark.
Surfer? That was almost worse, man. Did you guys read Dan Slott's Silver Surfer? That was what
That
was
a
going
love
on
story,
there?
right?
Oh, it was Doctor Who, is what it was. It was terrible. I like the artist, but he was a terrible fit for Silver Surfer. Like, no, Mike Allred, I think his name is.
Yes,
Not a
Mike
good
Allred.
fit for Silver Surfer. No. And Dan Slott clearly was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just watched an episode of Doctor Who. I guess I'll fucking make a book about it.
And
That
it
was
was, it was pretty creepy, to be honest.
yeah, because she was like a little girl. She was a little girl who visited her then and then came back 15, 20 some years, and now she's an adult. It's cool. Like,
Yeah, it would have been like if Doctor Who met Amy Pond when she was a little girl and then banged her as an adult.
it was weird.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah, that's basically.
And then it went on
it.
hiatus, like got 11 issues, and then he like 6 months later, the 12th issue. Oof, we got the trade. We're good. Ooh, we made it.
That's because Slott can't be bothered to. He can't.
think
The
he
guy can't
forgot.
even. Well, no, he can't even. Well, yeah, maybe, but he can't write two issues a month. He just can't write 2 books a month. Period. Every time they
Sad. If I
tried
were
it,
the writer at Marvel, I'd be like, you couldn't stop me. What are you doing?
Well,
I'm
even-
just writing. Like, it's going to town.
even back when he was writing unimportant books that didn't require any editorial oversight, like She-Hulk, and he was writing She-Hulk and something else back in the mid 2000s, and neither of them really mattered. And they were okay, but one of them was always fucking late. And it was the same thing now, but except
You're
for
a
it's worse.
writer.
Except for it's worse because he's doing Fantastic Four and Iron
Tony
Man.
Stark, yeah.
Yeah, and Iron Man. So they're 2 kind of central books, and he requires a lot of editorial oversight. And yeah, he couldn't do
One
it
a
when
year
he did
now.
it.
That's what's going to come down to. 1 a year.
So, we're probably going to get back into this stuff once we get to the bad. So I think we've covered my good topic for Marvel Comics. Jeremy, what's your topic for the good section, buddy?
For good, I haven't read a good Marvel comic in years. I think the last Marvel comic I officially bought that was new was that what was that one Star Wars parody that Dark Horse let out a few years ago? What was that? I forget the name of it. Is what I'm talking about?
I haven't
Doc
the
probably knows
slightest clue.
Shit, I can't remember. It's technically a Marvel book now because they bought all the Disney properties, but it's actually a Dark Horse book. So I really can't give you a good on Marvel right now.
Well, that's
Like, at
not
all.
true because I monitor your Twitter page and I see books and books of back issue X-Men.
Oh, well, I guess I do have one right here if you want to talk about it. I picked up this issue of X-Men because I figured it's now or never if I'm going to get this
Yes.
book. And
Yes.
I'm not ready to read it yet. I'm not up to this point, but I told David, if you got this laying around, throw it in my pile because I want it.
Yep.
X-Men have always, I felt, to me, especially the old stuff, are a class on their own. Like, I feel like they don't even really belong in Marvel. They're their own thing. And I just love all the characters. So I guess, yeah, that's my good for Marvel. I don't know if that counted, though, because that's so old.
No, absolutely. You know what the best thing about old Claremont X-Men is? You don't have to get the books like chronologically. You can miss one.
Oh, yeah,
or two
this stands
because
alone.
they're
Yeah.
all stories in of themselves, and they can
Right,
be
they're
read.
all
in the-
self-contained.
Just look at this cover,
Yeah.
$1. Look at this thing. This is awesome. Look at this cover. This crazy looking cover. Fucking
More
$1.
more drama on that one cover than is in any Marvel book
You You see that on the
2019.
shelf, and you're going, "What?" You know, like what's going on? You want to read it? Yeah.
You know it's bad when a 20-year-old book has more interest than the most recent version of the Avengers.
That's almost 30 years old.
This
you
is almost
go.
30. Shit, I'm getting old. Man. Jesus. I was just talking to friends how I feel like I'm finally in a financial position where I can finally get into a lot of my hobbies, like really get into them, and I'm in the worst era of writing. Like there's nothing I can look at. Like I can look back and go, wow, look at Claremont. Look at all these great stuff. And now here's
Well, it
my
doesn't
time.
matter. You can go back and buy the old issues. Go back and
Which
buy
I
the
am.
back issues.
Which I clearly
Exactly.
am doing. Which I
Exactly.
It's like there's no.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there's no excuse not to. Then I mean you go out and buy the back issues. The great thing about that is every single one of them is going up in value, and they're only going to keep going up in value.
Well, I always do laugh when I'm looking through the old Green Lantern books, and they're all about $3-4, and I look at the new rack, and they're about $4 or $5. I'm like,
when you think about it, it doesn't make any sense to not buy back issues, considering a lot of the back issues are now about the same price as current issues.
Pretty much.
Unless
there's like a big thing happening, like the first time Kyle Rayner was on a book, or he put the costume on. That was about $9.
Yeah, but those books usually sit in a comic book display somewhere, so those aren't even going to be lumped in in the long boxes for the most part. The ones you're going to find in the long boxes are those non-sequential issues that are just filler, but because they're so old, the retailer's trying to get their money back on them somehow, so they increase the price just a little bit. But at the same time, those comics are still valued at the same price as the books that are sitting on the shelves that don't say anything, don't do anything.
Great art and great stories, might as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd rather pay $4 for a self-contained back issue from 30 years ago than buy something recent where all the characters are just sitting around eating pizza and there's nothing else going on but them talking
eating
about
in comics. What are you doing?
Yeah,
no one wants to read that.
Exactly. So right now is the best time to go comic hunting.
Like I assume Kuros have to use the bathroom too, but I don't want to read about that either. Can we just not have that in the comic? You don't need to have these things in there. It's unimportant.
Exactly.
Now that I said it, someone's gonna make it now. What the fuck did I just do that for?
So I don't know if you caught our collecting on a budget stream, Cap, but Pele gave us some really great tips, and one of them was hit your local Goodwill, and they always have comic bins, and you can get like great comics from the Silver Age for like $0.25.
Silver Age, maybe not, but you can get some 70s. You get 70s and 80s books, real cheap. And
it's funny you mention that because I plan on hitting up a couple of thrift shops in my area to see what they've stocked.
Not my area. No, you won't find jack shit in my area. I comb through those.
You cleaned it out.
At least once a week. But
I can check your shop though, right?
Goodwill, Salvation Army, Goodwill, the little what the fuck is that place called? There's another little thrift shop kind of place down the road too, but there's three of them. There's three of them like within walking distance of my comic shop, and I pillage every single one of them every week. So.
I'm surprised a lot of comic shop owners don't do that.
They just, a little snooty or something like that, and they don't want to go digging through. They don't want to go digging through somebody else's, boxes at Goodwill and stuff. But I found a Hulk 181 that way. I found a Green Lantern number 40 that way. I found, just awesome vintage books that are worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars that way. So,
Sam found like an enormous honey hole full of Hulk books at his Goodwill right after the stream we did with him.
Yeah,
it was like
nice.
Like 100 Hulk books, right?
Yeah. There wasn't any of the big key issues. Somebody kept those, but yeah, he found all the good filler issues between like 130 and like 200, and he had like 40 books. He got like 40 Incredible Hulk comics for like $20.
Like the
Is that,
80s stuff, or
were those the Herb Trimp ones?
70s. That's 70s stuff. But yes, Trimpy stuff from 165 up. But yeah, great stuff to read. But yeah, $20 can't beat that for 40 good 40-year-old books for
shit.
$20. Yeah.
I would spend more for crappier books just to read them. That's a good deal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
especially on Bronze Age books. I love hunting those books down, and if the price is negotiable, I'll drop a good penny on them.
So Black Cap, do you have like one comic on your wish list right now that you're keeping an eye out for, that once you see that right deal, it's yours immediately?
Right now, what I'm looking for is Amazing Spider-Man first appearance of Punisher. I have one already. But I'm looking for a better grade.
You didn't want that True Believer one that came out like a month or two ago? It said the Punisher, and everyone was like, "Wait, what?" It's not a Punisher book.
I don't do reprints unless they're from the 60s. I stay away from reprints as much as I possibly can.
I'd rather stick with the newsprint, to be honest. I like the feel of that newsprint. Yeah.
Right.
No, I think I actually like the True Believer stuff, because there's some of those books that are just people can't afford them. They can't buy them.
That's true.
And
that's true.
They could at least called it Amazing Spider-Man, though. They put the Punisher right as the fucking logo, though. That was the worst part about that.
I mean, it was because it's a one shot. I mean, it's not really part of Amazing Spider-Man. It's just
But it was Amazing Spider-Man, though. So if you're trying to collect the issues and you want them in order, like, now I got one that says that, I would have been really upset.
Yeah, the point was, though, that it was the Punisher that was the focus point of that issue.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's I love them. They sell like hotcakes, and actually,
they're usually like $1, aren't they?
Yeah, they're $1 a piece. You can't beat that for $1.
Right. I mean, from a retailer's perspective, it does seem like a good deal. But from a collector perspective, I don't like reprints. And so, if I'm trying to fill gaps in my collection, I don't want to have a reprint sitting in until I get the real thing. I'll just go out and get the real thing.
What I usually do is I'll get this Amazing Spider. I got Amazing Spider-Man 300 right here on the wall, and right on the Mylar. I've got it in Mylar in the backing board, and on the reverse side of it, I've got the True Believers issue sitting right on the other side of the backing board. Right. So if I want to read it.
Yeah.
So if I want to read it, I can take it down, open the Mylar, pull the True Believers issue out, and read it, stick it back in, and I don't have to mess with the more valuable issue.
That's true. That makes sense from that perspective. But me, just me personally, once I read a book once, I'm pretty much done with it. I don't touch it again. I throw it in Mylar, put it in the box, and that's it. It's usually stuck in my memory for however long. And if I do have an urge to read it, I'll pick up a trade. So I mean, the True Believers issues are good but they are good. But they're only good for that one specific story, only that one key issue, because that's what I see the True Believers are. That they're books that just specifically target key events in Marvel or key stories that they've put out.
I think they're supposed to garner interest where you'll go and get the trade, maybe that issue is, and you're like, I want the rest of this story. This is amazing, kind of thing. But for me, being in overseas and
trade, it usually has an ad for the trade paperback on the very last page.
So being in the Philippines, and back issues are really hard, especially anything that isn't older. That's older than two years ago. Like True Believers are amazing for me. I love them. I get all of them. Unless it's a character I just hate, like Captain Marvel. I was like, I'm not getting those, but I got all the Conans, I got all the Fantastic Fours, I'll get all the Star Wars. I believe they come out this next month. And I think they're
those the Marvel Star Wars? Is that like the old?
I think they're all Marvel.
All
right. Like one of them's the Kieran Gillen relaunch, I believe. Wait, no, the first launch, the first issue of Vader. I'm like, this really.
How are you for comic shops over there anyway in the Philippines?
We only have comic shops in Manila. And I think there's 6 of them.
How far is that from you?
It's
Like a drive.
no, I'm on a different island.
Oh no, so yeah, it's an import still. Oh yeah.
Yeah, if I wanted to drive there, it's about 18 hours.
Wow.
That's a weekend.
Yeah.
That's a trip.
So,
Yep.
I'm
Road
really
trip.
lucky. One of the shops mails me my books. They have an online order thing where I can order all my books, and I can actually. I'm
nice.
kind of friends with the owner now, and I'll be like, I want this book that you're not offering. I want this book that you're not offering. And he'll order them special for me. Like that's how I get all my alternative
So
books.
since you're so far out, how are you like a week behind? Is that how that works, or how? Or do you
My
get
book-
like the new stuff on the new stuff?
My books typically show up on the next Wednesday, but this week they actually showed up on Friday, which was insane. So I actually got my DC Comics 1000 before everything was spoiled.
Awesome.
So I was really lucky.
Oh yeah, the big spoiler. Ooh, Arkham Knight. Ooh.
Yeah,
yeah.
when I saw that, because I played the game, I'm like, "What are you guys doing? What are you
They
doing?"
made that guy. They made that guy a character in DC now.
Well,
God.
The thing is, Arkham Knight was just Jason Todd, and he was and not to spoil the game. Sorry, guys. Yeah, the Arkham Knight was just Jason Todd, and he took his mask off, and he was the Red Hood. So I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
I'm not happy about that.
So unless this character is a completely different character other than Jason Todd,
His outfit the A on there looked just like the Arkham font in the games. Well, I'm not shitting on the games either. I'm just saying, come on.
Yeah. No, the games are awesome, but it would have to be a different character because Jason Todd already has his own book unless they canceled it.
Every one of the Robins now is either. I thought about this. All the Robins now are either dead or fucked up irrevocably. You know, they are toast. So
R.I.P.
what's
Super
Batman
Sons.
doing to these? What is Batman doing to these kids? I mean,
Trauma. Lots
I'm
and
calling
lots of
Child Protective
trauma.
Services.
emotional. It's like head trauma or something. You know, they're all just like batshit crazy.
The theme of the family. They don't call it the Bat Family because of the logo. They're just batshit crazy.
But wait, isn't Tom King writing those characters?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Well, he's writing Batman, and he's fucking up Batman right now. Still,
So he destroyed Nightwing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which one?
So-
Last time I was at Nightwing, there's like 5 different Nightwings.
Dick Grayson.
There's a reason that happened.
He's got
Rick
brain
Grayson. Yeah. We're done with those dick joke guys. We're calling him Rick. All right, I'm not buying your book because the dick jokes are great. Fuck you. Dick Grayson's the best.
I was still
If I
reading.
can't make it, go ahead.
I was actually still reading the Nightwing books. I was like, this isn't very good, but I really like the character. I'm hoping he's going to come back. And then there's like one issue where this girl he likes is at like a public meeting at like town hall, and she's talking about all the homeless people, and Rick's thinking, man, I'm not even a superhero compared to her. And I was like, fuck this.
Yes, Queen. Queen, yes.
I'm done with that.
Slay.
Oh god,
She's
they
the
made
real
him a cuck.
superhero.
Well,
She's looking
I
after
know I
the
already
homeless.
bitched about that once, but you know how they, because he was turning into this technological like Nightwing guy, and I liked him. He was in Bloodhaven. He had his own like battle cruising van, and then next issue, never mind. Fuck that. We're done.
What
Cool
gets me
idea.
is
We're done.
the one chick who has the license to be the most awesome of all of them. They just spend all their time fucking with her and neutering her, and that's Wonder Woman.
Cassandra Cain. Oh, Wonder Woman. Oh.
They all they do is neuter her all the time. It's like, oh well, something's wrong with her powers. Oh well, something's wrong with her mind. Oh well, it's like, no, just let her be Wonder Woman. Let her be a badass because she is.
Just let her
a
put on the
legit
hijab,
badass.
and we'll be good.
And these
Come on.
and these,
Oh, sorry.
she's the only one that's inexcusably a badass, and they won't let her go. It's like all these other characters, whether it's in Marvel or DC, most pathetic female heroes that everybody just kisses their asses. But her, no, they've got to pull her back. They've got to let, we can't let her shine too bright. We got to make Barbara Gordon look good again.
Why? Put her back in the wheelchair. She was awesome as Oracle.
Yep, she was. And
Put
what
her
was
back
funny
in
about
that. There's nothing wrong with her in there.
what was so funny about it is that they're always talking about, we want to make sure that all of our characters are, representative of different groups and stuff like that. Well, what about disabled people? They had Barbara Gordon, and you took her away from
It was so
it.
crazy. It was a one-shot storyline that was so popular they made canon, and everyone loved it. It still worked. Shouldn't have worked, but it worked. Everyone loved her, and then suddenly, like, yeah, let's get rid of that. It's crazy.
Killing Joke should have technically been an Elseworld story that they just brought to canon.
It kind of was,
so
and then people loved it a lot.
It was.
Yeah.
But
was that before they even had Elseworld?
When you sell a million copies of something, it tends to have an influence. So
Yeah.
Did you realize that Killing Joke sold 1 million copies?
That's crazy.
Through all of its
I didn't
printing?
get one.
And
Okay, because it's been probably in printing since it happened, right? It's happened.
yeah,
one of
that's
those type of
$20
books.
a piece. Think about that.
Yeah,
$20 a piece. That's a hell of a lot of copies.
it's a lot
of
of cheddar. $20 million.
You know that iconic Joker ha 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 image panel? That's enough.
Yep.
That could be a poster.
That's a pretty controversial book, though. I mean, that's like there's some rape, torture.
It's good though.
There was the
Look at its
history of
content.
Batman
It's,
killed the
the way
Joker at
story-
the end. That was good.
I'm not saying
Glad
rape.
it left it.
Of course, rape.
I love
Here's
that.
here's
bad.
the thing. When
Don't
you portray bad people doing bad things, it doesn't make it controversial. It makes it accurate.
Right.
Exactly.
Well,
It
yeah,
makes it compelling.
No, they have to have a reason, Doc. You can't just have bad people doing bad things. They got to have some tragic backstory, else I can't associate with it.
They can have the tragic backstory. It doesn't make them stop doing bad things.
Harley
Or
Quinn,
stop
she's
being
a
bad
victim. She's not just a thought. She's a victim.
Yes, she is a thought.
She's a thought. There's nothing wrong with that in a fictional narrative. It's fine. I just got I'm so upset with Kern Harley. I bring
All
that
right,
up.
hey,
Most
we're gonna
worthless.
we're gonna get back to Marvel now. We
Sorry.
kind of veered a little too far off. So, so Black Hat, you used to read Marvel. You're not really up on it now. Is there one thing that you want to say that's great about Marvel?
The one thing that's great about Marvel, that's hard.
That was a long pause there.
Yeah, that's hard. The one thing that's great about Marvel, and this is going to sound a little harsh, but I'm happy Stan doesn't have to see this.
Yeah.
That's the best thing, because they're destroying his legacy. They're destroying his legacy. Everything he built up. Everything he built up from Fantastic Four #1 to now, they're destroying. It's like they're laughing in the face of Stan, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Gil Kane, everybody who came along to make these characters what they are, and they've destroyed them. And I'm happy to say that the greatest thing the greatest thing about Marvel is that Stanley doesn't have to see it go down. Doesn't have to see it be destroyed.
I get the impression the last several years of his life, he never realized just how bad it was getting. Otherwise, he might have, had a conniption, might have died sooner.
Well, he was getting older. I mean,
I get the impression
that
that he didn't realize,
because
yeah.
but I get the impression he didn't realize it was that bad yet.
I don't think he could have. Yeah.
No.
He sounded like he was just excited, like, wow, people are still reading Marvel books. What? That's crazy. And they love me. I mean, he was.
Wow, how
there's no way he could have focused on the bad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
So I don't
you gotta
blame
think
him.
about it.
But
I mean, once his wife passed away, I think a lot of him went with her, because after that, it was who was that guy who was parading him around and was leeching off of him.
Oh, that lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that crazy dude who basically kept everyone away from Stan and
He was fighting his daughter, I believe.
right.
Yeah.
And so that I believe that guy, pretty much kept him away from, being up to date with or seeing what was going on with his characters. I mean, for the most part, Stan was busy doing cameos for movies that hadn't even come out yet.
Right.
So I doubt he was involved in any of the characters, because at this point, even before he passed, Marvel was going down that SJW path. So I don't think he was really interested. I don't think he was really involved in the comic book perspective, more so than the movie side, because that's pretty much where people were, more engaging with it, with Stan, because of all the cameos and making all the predictions about what these cameos mean and stuff like that. So there was interest there, but not much so from the comic book side. He'll always have that chairman emeritus stance, with Marvel, but other than that, yeah, I don't think he really had any interest in the comic book side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember he got brought out one time to like admonish fans, and you could tell he didn't know what he was even talking about. Like, he was just kind of general, like, you need to be nicer. This is what I wanted to do all along, or something. You guys remember that one? Like a year ago, maybe.
I feel like that was longer.
Oh, the last time I met Stan was, I think it was about 2012 at Chicago Comic-Con, and he was lucid. He was sharp. He signed a few books for me. He actually signed. I paid for him to sign 3, and I was joking with him. I said, "Yeah, I've got 3 more, but I didn't put those." He goes, just slap them down here. And his handler was like, "Oh wait, well we gotta." He's like, "It's all right." And he's kind of waving the guy away. What
are you gonna do? I'm Stan the man. Are you gonna tell me no?
Yeah, he signed,
I'll tell you no.
So he signed 2 more books, and then he signed one for me personally with his full name, not just Stan Lee.
Not his pen.
Nice.
So, that's awesome.
Nice.
And on the inside of the cover, on copy of Amazing Spider-Man 100 that I just bought. But
you still got those books?
He was very. Oh yeah. Those are I sold the others. I sold, they were for the shop, but he was so sharp. He was, he seemed like he was.
He seemed lucid till his death, man. There was weeks you could see him talking. He seemed very together.
Well, until probably about a year, I would say.
Really, because even you could see him posting how he was excited to talk to fans all the time. He seemed like he was still there at 95.
I don't think that was him posting, though.
Mm-hmm.
Really, there's those videos of him.
Yeah, I don't think that was him writing on Twitter, though. A lot of times,
probably not.
The last year or so, it seemed like they knew something was up, so they were just trying to get as many
vampire blood off of a 94-year-old man. What do you expect?
Well, they were trying to get so many things signed off him as soon as possible. I'd heard a rumor that he signed over 60,000 books in the last 6 months of his life. And he would just sit there for 8 to 10 hours at a stretch, with them shoving books in front of him as fast as he could sign them. So,
I should have just left him alone. That's not how I want to go out.
That's sad.
That's not that I'll ever make a big impact on the world as a stand-in, but I'll never want to be at that point in my life where the last year of my life I'm just tired and getting beat up. Here, sign this. Just don't fuck off. I just want to be left alone with my family. Just go away.
I think a lot of it too was, I think it was right about the time his wife passed away, which you have to remember that was just, like I said, about a year before he died.
Yeah.
His wife passed away. And when his wife passed away, I think a lot of it took it out of him. You got to understand, when you're with somebody for like almost 80
years,
or whatever. It was longer than that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I didn't realize. Yeah, it's like 60 or 70 years. It's something insane.
When you're with somebody for 3/4 of a century or whatever, that's really gonna impact you. And you're not really sure how the hell you're gonna go from one day to the next without that person anymore. I guess, but
I think he met her back when he was in the war.
Yes,
when he was serving, because she's English.
Something,
yeah, she's English. So I think he met her during the war, and they've been together ever since.
Yeah, sad.
That's a long ass time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a sad good thing about Marvel. But we all love Stan Lee. We're glad that he doesn't have to see the depths that I think Marvel is about to sink to. I honestly do think the World of Realms is going to be an eye opener for the company. I think it's going to be shit on more than they can.
Going to be
they
a
can imagine.
shovel in the grave, if you ask me.
Yeah. So
Marvel's already got one foot in the grave, and they're just digging themselves deeper as they go. Like I mentioned earlier, with the retailer incentive program they have with this War of the Realms crap, where retailers can't even gauge, how many copies they should buy based on interest. It's like you're locked in. And if they're doing
Who cares about shops, right?
Right, exactly. And if they're doing that with Water Realms, then that means the other events that are going to fall after that are going to be the same way. They're going to be locked in to these events, and you can't change your order, and that's pathetic, because that puts the retail. It's putting the retailers on the line as well, because their shops sink or swim by predictions on what people like, and if people don't like a certain thing, why should a retailer be locked into
they shouldn't feel obligated to buy more of what's not going to sell.
Right.
That's not how consumerism works. Not how the free market works. That's stupid.
Exactly. One person, you as a retailer, a customer comes in and says, "Hey, I'm interested in, event X. Can I get one copy?" Sure. You go to put an order in. You gotta order 10 copies in order to, make this order. But only one person wants the book. That doesn't make any sense. And why should I shell out $50-$60 for a title I'm only going to get $3.95 on? It just makes no sense.
Just crossing your fingers, you're going to break even. How do you pay your bills? How do you ever come out ahead? Yeah,
right. And
you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you never.
No, I'm definitely got this. I'm definitely on the side of local comic shops. If my Twitter can be anything of that, I really want people to buy from their shops.
Yeah, that's a big focus of the channel here as well. I think a lot of people be upset and like, this event, it doesn't, it's not what I expected. But if you think about it, all the risk right now is on the retailer side. The Marvel doesn't take anywhere near the risk. The customer doesn't have to take the risk because they don't have to buy the book even if they ask for it. But when you're asking a retailer to order 6 books sight unseen before ever selling one issue of the title, it's insanity. Obviously, right. Pele, better than I do, being a retailer yourself. Do you think this is going to blow up in their faces quite like we're kind of expecting with War of the Realms?
Oh yeah, it's already. It's already there. So there's a very good reason I'm only selling. I'm down to like carrying 12 Marvel titles, in a month now. So. Mm-hmm. By the way, that's a little misleading because I do carry more that people have on their pull list. I'm talking about titles that I get in to put on that I stock on the shelves, and I only stock 12 books now from Marvel, twice as many of that from DC. So that if that tells you just how bad it's gotten now for Marvel.
Well, Marvel's producing twice as many books total.
Yeah. Twice as many that are absolutely forgettable and are not worth your time. Written by writers who would rather be doing anything else than writing comic books. They get these NPCs, social justice morons who want to write for BuzzFeed or something like that. They have a social justice or women's studies degree, and they want to write something that'll change the world, but somehow the only thing they can get hired into is comic books. So they're taking the spot of somebody who really would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And half the writers today just want to write for comic books so they can get a screenwriter good job. Just look at
that's true. Now it's funny because BuzzFeed and all these other tabloid websites, they're dropping people left and right. So
the opinion section storm that just happened. I remember that the Let's Code controversy. Yeah. Oh boy!
Right. So if these writers were having any greater aspirations other than writing comics, they're just looking to dig their own graves as well in that perspective. But now talking about writers who really want to write, for comics. That's dicey too, because unless you have the right politics, you're not going to get in, even no matter how good you are. You could be as good as Neil Gaiman, but if you're not, if you don't have Trump derangement syndrome, they're not going to hire you.
That's so sad. We need a mix of both. You can't. Because if everything was all right wing in comics, I'd be really upset too. Like this is boring.
That's all it
This
is.
isn't. Yeah, it's all
it is
one-sided
now, is
stuff.
left wing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You need a mix. There's like I can't believe you get fired for your political views in comics. Like, oh, good, you're controversial. Bam, get on a book. Let's sell some shit. Let's go.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me. This baffles my
The only
mind.
thing the only thing it can do now is deplatform. You know, it's all deplatforming. You know, they can't allow anybody to have
Just like that
anybody
Neil
speak
Adams,
their
wasn't
mind.
it? Am I thinking of the same guy? I think I brought that up last week, where he was talking about how
weird.
Republicans were kicked out, and he makes
Oh,
that
he
thing
cried
about
like
Trump.
he cried like a little girl as soon as they stepped on his toes. He just jumped
Couple
back.
days
like,
later.
oh, well, I didn't realize how bad it was for these poor women. And these,
I've been reprogrammed.
Oh my
I've been
goodness.
reprogrammed. Sorry, that made me laugh so hard.
So to get back on the good stuff about Marvel, because we're gonna shit on Marvel some more if everybody doesn't know.
I'm ready to do my stuff. I'm ready to do my good stuff.
All right, yeah,
Sure.
let's hear it, Pele.
All right. The sheer number of valuable properties they have. They have the most amazing characters in all of fiction. Or Marvel Comics characters. I mean, there's Batman, Superman, stuff. I'm talking about just the volume of it. Amazing backstories. It's incredible, rich lore. The amount of world building, universe building. I mean, just look at how much work went into the construction as far as the origins, the Celestials, all the gods, all the backstories involved. Because if you go back and read someone like the Tales to Astonish, you know, in some of the Tales of Suspense and whatnot, and you can get into Strange Tales actually too, because then you get all the Shield backstory.
Yeah.
But it's really amazing. They have amazing, awesome issues back then that built this great world. So that's probably, in my opinion, the best thing about Marvel. And then you have a few writers, Donny Cates, I think, who is doing an excellent job right now. Although some people hate him because, you know, he's been a dick lately. You know, I'm taking that out of the way. Just looking at what he's writing, it's good. His Venom story is really good. Al Ewing, I personally don't like Al Ewing, but Immortal Hulk is really good. It's definitely worth a read. There are still some good storylines in Marvel, even though the main, you know, Marvel as a company, as a storyteller, for the most part, the wheels have come off the cart. But there are good stories within the wreckage that are still excellent. You know, Chip Zdarsky's doing a fantastic job. But there are still gems in the rough there, but even though they're growing fewer in number, it's not completely a dearth of quality. But I don't think that's going to last too much longer. I don't unless they have somebody else, you know, waiting in the wings. You know, I don't think that Cates and Zdarsky and Ewing can hold up Marvel by themselves with that many characters. So
Absolutely.
They only have 100 titles.
yeah.
So, Doc, what do you say about that? I know you're a big Marvel fan. You know, I was getting pretty excited with that. You know, the great characters, man. What do you think about Marvel characters?
I still like them for the most part. There's a number of them that I think have been irrevocably damaged. X-23 is just broken. You can't do anything with her anymore. You've ruined everything about her in the last 5 years, especially under Tom Taylor and then Mariko Tamaki since. She's broken. There's no fixing her unless you just Bobby Ewing the shit out of her and just say basically everything that's happened since Tom Taylor got a hold of her is, you know, was a fever dream or some shit.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion. I'd prefer to just throw her in the sun, and then we find out that it's been a clone of, it's been the other clone of her for the last couple of years.
Can we just do that to 2010 to 2019, like entirely for Marvel?
Can't we just throw Honey Badger into a blender?
Do that.
All of them go into, they're Wolverines. They have to go into the sun to make sure they're gone.
Sure.
Otherwise,
yeah,
core of the earth, just kill it. I don't care.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I think that there's a number of, Punisher's broken right now. And he has been since Secret Empire. I love the character, and I actually think the current run is okay, but it's, even though, I know a lot of people dislike Matthew Rosenberg, I don't think he's as terrible as many seem to claim he is, but when you had the Punisher take the side of Hydra, no.
Yeah.
No, just no.
That's just silly.
Remember, he's the guy that during the first Civil War took Cap's side, and when a bunch of villains tried to join, he shot them in the sewer in front of Cap, and then Cap beat the ever-loving shit out of him.
Right.
Because Punisher has no, he's not going to take the side of the villains ever. And so I think that that's another thing that they broke. They've done a lot of things with, they've just broken characters. You can
I think a lot of that
them.
has to do with the fact that they're not reading their own universe. That's probably what's happening.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they never understood their own universe.
Right.
A lot of the creators. Go ahead.
Well, they used to, when they had editors that actually cared about the
I was just going to say, I saw editors showing huge stacks of trades, like, oh, time to catch up from the last year. Like, what do you mean?
That was horrible. Yeah.
What are you doing? How are you not excited to read?
When you had editors like Jim Shooter around to keep the characters consistent, you can see, especially when it comes to characters appearing in multiple comics, outside of their core core comic, if they had one, there was consistency. If the character didn't, like, I remember the classic situation where you'll have Spider-Man fighting someone, and he'll be like, "Where's the Fantastic Four? Oh, well, they're on an adventure somewhere," and you see like a little blurb talking about the issue that they're in, and the reason why they
editorial note in the corner. Yeah.
Exactly. You
check
don't have
out
that
Fantastic Four number.
Right. Exactly. You don't have that anymore. Now you have in relation to continuing the theme of broken characters. My favorite character of all time is Captain America. He's utterly broken. He's destroyed.
Yep.
One he's written by someone who doesn't understand the character.
He's written by a communist.
Exactly. He's written by someone who doesn't understand.
You fucking serious? What?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. He's written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. He's written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, a guy who a black communist writing about the Sentinel of Liberty. It doesn't make any sense.
Never have a commie.
It does not make any sense. It's like upside down. It's like it's Bizarro World.
I can hear Kirby's grave just rolling, just generating heat right now.
Yeah, libertarian Jack Kirby is just rolling in his grave.
You just feel the earth growing hotter because of this right now. After hearing that,
exactly. Now I understand how in the past Cap has disavowed or given up the mantle. Yeah. Exactly the nomad thing, the no man's land with Mark Waid and that last run he had where with that Trump miniseries, that last story that he wrote before Cap got rebooted.
Right.
It ever since, like you said with what you said, Doc, with the last major story arc that had Cap in, I forgot the name of it.
Secret Empire.
Yes. From that point on, Cap has been irrevocably destroyed. I don't like the character. I can't read anything that he's in. That the ending of that event still has dangling plot lines that have yet to be fixed. Even though he's back in Avengers, it conflicts with his core series, where he's disavowed America, and now he's running around with Antifa.
Right.
You know, like, how do you? It's conflict. How does a character like that balance
Recover.
excuse me. How does a character like that balance being an Avenger and then being a supporter of Antifa?
If they really wanted him out of the lineup, they probably should have just killed him off for good and been like, there is no Captain America anymore. You know,
even better.
Preferred.
Yeah, it would have been better than what they're doing to him, where they're destroying his character.
People would be upset, but hindsight 2020, right? Yeah, that would have been better.
but with Marvel now, and they can't just destroy a character. They have to replace them with something more quote unquote progressive. So if they got Captain America out of the way, they would just simply replace him with someone who follows the politics that they're pushing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they would just morph him into something that's more agreeable to
Captain Comrade.
Exactly, or something.
Hammer and sickle instead of the
exactly.
The A, yeah.
You know, Captain Antifa or something like that. I'm surprised.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Keep the A. There you go.
Exactly. You know,
you think this A stands for France? What was that thing in the If it was France, I can't remember. It's been so long since I read that one.
The Ultimates.
I mean, if you look at it, every major character that Marvel has right now has an SJW alternative. You know, Absolutely. You've got Ironheart, you've got Amadeus Cho, you've got Miles Morales, you've got that Patriot character with Heroes Rising nonsense. You've got two SJW Captain Marvels, essentially, Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel. You know, every major character has an SJW alternative. And
even Avengers has champions.
There you go. There you go. I'm surprised that they didn't just relaunch the Young Avengers title and just threw them in there, because that's basically what they are. But you know, and it's pushed those characters off to the side, the main characters off to the side, to push these sidekicks as major characters. And I just
who was it? Al Ewing. Al Ewing said something about how everyone. It's like he said, oh, one of the problems is we have fans out there that are hoping that Marvel fails and is trying to make Marvel fail. I said, yes, we are. Yes, we. You know, I have stopped ordering your damn books, and because they suck. What you've done with Marvel is an abomination. It needs to fail. Until it fails, until Disney takes the keys away and says, you don't know how to drive anymore, we're going to hand these to somebody else, you know, it's not going to change. So, and it's going to have to fail hard before they do that. So I'm hoping
you really
it
think
fails.
Disney's going to give the reins to someone else, or are they just going to give up? That's what I'm afraid.
Well,
they'll give it to somebody else.
I feel like they're going to just give up.
They've already done that because they're licensing the characters to other companies, so they're doing that. The only thing they care about is the
storylines. I think didn't I have an argument with Ashleck about something like that last week?
Well, no, but a lot of people feel that way. So
but the thing is with Disney is they don't care about the characters; they care about the IP. So as long as the copyright for the characters is still active, they don't care who's writing these stories. As long as there's interest in the characters that are being portrayed in the movies, that's all they care about. They don't care about the comic division. That's why it's being handled so haphazardly. They don't care about the comics division in the sense that we treasure these characters. We're going to give you the best stories because how they're portrayed in the movies is exactly
but they care about the money,
comics.
and Marvel is losing money right now.
But that's my point. But yeah, Marvel's losing money. Yeah, but
Marvel
that's
Comics is losing money, so they care
Right,
about
right.
the money. They care about the division being down 5 to 10% every single quarter. So
right. But that's
they
the reason
care
why I'm
about
saying.
that.
But that's why that's why I mentioned they're leasing out their characters to other companies in the sense that, like I said, they don't. If they cared about the money, they would hire
But
new
that's not
writers.
working.
They would
The
hire new.
leasing
They
isn't
would,
working. IDW is about to die.
Right.
The other places they've leased them to, the issues only sell 5,000 to 7,000 issues. So
Right.
unless Marvel publishes it, unless it's good, it's not going to sell. So
the only way that they're going to turn a profit is if they bring back major writers and artists. Because right now they have no one. Chip Zdarsky, Donny Cates, and Al Ewing can only do so much. You still need artists to draw these titles. And the Cal art style doesn't work in Marvel.
Yeah,
they
Ryan
need.
Stegman can only do one book.
Yeah.
But then ting.
That's the big issue. They don't have enough artists for the amount of titles. That's way worse than the writers, to be honest.
DC has all the exclusive talent right now because of how left
That pendulum
and
swung to them.
Right, exactly. How far left Marvel swung. It turned off a lot of really good talent.
Yeah, but I feel like the really big the SJWs went to DC though. I mean, you got Bendis being the big one. I blame him a lot for Marvel, to be honest. So I'm not happy to see him on this side of the pendulum. Go away.
Yeah.
Well,
Go back.
Yeah.
Go right that ship that you wrong first. Don't fuck this one up.
Yeah, that's true. But
Bendis is kind of the conduit. He's the guy that opens the door.
He's the lightning rod of bad.
He is. He is. He attracts it all to him, and then he brings it with him.
Look, I'm at this really great thing. Come here. And everyone's just like, yeah, we'll fuck it up.
Yeah.
There's so many of those creators that the only reason they got into comics is because they knew Bendis. I mean, he's the guy that
neighbor.
Yes, they're the Portland people. The only reason Chelsea Kane wrote Mockingbird is because of Bendis. The only reason
wasn't that a term, Portland Mafia? Wasn't that a thing?
Yeah.
People were throwing around.
I
believe it.
It's legit.
Mm-hmm.
There's there's a number of creators that the only reason they got in is because either Warren Ellis or Brian Bendis. And
we can't leave out Axel Alonso.
Well,
of course.
Axel just let Bendis bring in whoever he wanted. That was the difference. So
that must be in his terms of his contract. I can just do whatever I want. Okay, fine. You got it.
Yeah.
My name's Brian Bendis, and I get to do what I want.
Anymore.
Right.
So feels like we're full on into the bad points here. I don't think we got to Doc's good point, but that train's passed. So Doc, do you have a specific bad point that you want to talk about Marvel Comics right now that you think needs to be addressed that maybe we haven't hit yet?
Editing.
It's that,
editing. The editors in general simply not doing their job. I posted something earlier, well, actually last night, because I had finished reading a couple of the back issues of Uncanny that I haven't gotten to yet, like the 3 of the most recent ones. And I found something that was, I had to read it 3 times before I realized, no, they just fucked it up. And I don't know who is spell checking this shit. I don't know who is even bothering to look at. Who's proofreading? Who's proofreading? Who's
I didn't see no red squiggly. We're good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And I looked at it and I read it 3 times. Somehow it managed to make it past a writer, an editor, and a letterer, and managed to get into the printed book.
Just get it
And
out. Just get it out there. Just don't
yeah,
worry. Just get it done.
and
I got people
and
like that
all-
I work with. Like, there's no point in getting it done if it's not done right.
yeah, and it's I mean, I understand that Marvel's at the point of where basically they've just said fuck it, ship it, but
Right.
yeah, but you know, they're just simply not doing their job. I mean, how many times can we count over the last few years where they've screwed something up? You know, typing Spider-Man without the hyphen.
Yeah, but if you think about it, they're catering to an invisible market, so editing is irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, when the books aren't actually meant to ever be read, it doesn't matter what the content of them is. They're only meant to exist.
They're meant to exist. They're meant, exactly. Because once, like I said, they're meant to be. The reason why they don't care about editing is because they only care about the retailers purchasing the books. They don't care if they get into readers' hands. They only care about the money that they're going to be getting from the retailers. So who cares about editing? The books are not going to be read anyway. We know they're trash, but these retailers are going to gobble these books up because they expect some sort of return on their investment, which is not there because the market for these books is not there. So they don't care. They don't care about who the book gets to as long as the retailers are giving them their money. So who cares about editing?
To talk about editing, to hark on Black Cap's point earlier, I actually do read Avengers. It's one of the least offensive Marvel books out there. It's pretty average, but I can read it. But the characters in there are not the characters in the regular line. Like Captain America is not the Captain America in Captain America. Tony Stark Iron Man is not the Iron Man that's in the Avengers. Even Captain Marvel seems like a different character because I just read one of her books and it's insanity, because it's supposed to be a team up at the same time, but the characters are divergent
because there's no continuity in Marvel.
Right back to that editor thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned with Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter kept everyone in line. Everything had to have a reason for happening. If a character acted a certain way in his core book, he had to act that way in another book regardless. These characters have no consistency from title to title. They're just there to exist.
Yeah.
There is no continuity.
I mean, the Wolverine solo book back in the day, like the original miniseries, he didn't appear in a couple of issues of Uncanny X-Men because he was out doing that.
It wouldn't make sense.
The Claremont the Chris Claremont Frank Miller Wolverine miniseries, the first solo miniseries he had, Shooter said, no, Wolverine, we're doing the miniseries. He's not in Uncanny X-Men at least this month. Even though, and then the whole idea was that it happened between there. And that's why he wasn't there. So it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't do that anymore. I mean, hell, look at Wolverine. What even is he at this point? He's some guy. He's currently back in. Well, he's currently back in X. Like they brought him back, and they did the Return of Wolverine, where he's like running around dressed like a sous chef from P.F. Chang's. Then he was showing up in the back of books, asking for people that weren't there anymore, and then left. And then he was wandering around with an Infinity Gem, and then
for no reason, just had the gem.
Yeah, he suddenly has an Infinity Gem.
Oh,
and
get it because the movies have them.
Yeah, and now he's back in Uncanny X-Men, and he's perfectly normal. But apparently, he was also hanging out, watching from afar when whenever Kitty and Peter were supposed to get married like 2 years ago, and they borked that up by the same month that Tom King fucked up Batman's wedding, like a year ago. And so he was somehow watching from a ridge there, but then he's wandering around with an Infinity Gem, and he doesn't have any memories, and he's an assassin dressed like a sous chef from P.F. Chang's, and
he's also Dead Man Logan
all over the place. Jesus.
And yeah, I mean, well, I'm not even talking about Dead Man Logan. I'm talking about the
That's
actual
the current
Wolverine.
timeline, though, right?
He's in the current timeline, but that's like the future Wolverine.
Yeah.
That's the one from the Old Man Logan.
But he's hanging out with the
series.
same characters.
He is, but just because he it'd be like. But my point is, the one that's supposedly back, the real one, he's all of these things all at once, and it makes no fucking sense to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was hanging out with Loki, and then he has the Wolverine and the Infinity Watch mini series. I'm sitting there going, who is this? Who is this? Because it's 6 Wolverines, apparently. This is worse than like the 3 Jokers idea.
Which one is the one that has the Phoenix Force?
There's the Wolverine with the Phoenix Force. What?
Yeah, there's an old. It's a future Wolverine. He's like millions of years old. He's got the Phoenix Force, and he's riding around on Thor's goat sled.
He doesn't even have psychotic abilities. How is he going to harness the whole power of the Phoenix Force? Last time they did that was the Phoenix 5, and they split that up. That made sense to me.
And it ended up with Cyclops. And now... And Cyclops...
Namor had the sluttiest outfit ever. What a slut.
But, no,
I don't understand how Wolverine can harness the whole... Whatever. What do I care?
Now, I will grant you, they did finally figure out a good way. Like, I have enjoyed the editing they've done to make the continuity work on Cyclops coming back. That actually worked. Like, between
which version? Not his young version, his actual version.
No, the real Cyclops currently back, and because he's the one.
Kiddo version's still running around, right?
No. All the
original integrated the timelines. They have integrated the timelines on him.
Yeah, the original 5 are back in the 60s. So we don't got to worry about them anymore.
That's when I jumped off was when baby Cyclops was in space hanging out with his dad. I'm like,
yeah. So yeah, they like Teen Cable kind of took care of all that shit. So that's
thanks, Nate.
Now but like the continuity when it comes to Teen Cable, Real Cable, and Cyclops, that actually they managed to make that work. And I think that had a lot to do with Ed Brisson.
Mm-hmm.
More than necessarily the editors in the department. I think Ed had a plan and knew what he was doing and made it work. But the Wolverine thing, it seems like there's like 7 chefs in the kitchen all trying to figure out how to bring Wolverine back, and they're all doing it differently in different books, and that somebody's trying to make it work together, and it ain't working.
They don't care about I don't think they care about them working together more than they care about the generating money, because they brought Wolverine back. Yeah, because they brought Wolverine back, they're just trying to capitalize on the return as much as they can. So they're just dropping titles left and right to see what sticks and what makes money.
Well,
I'll tell you one thing: Uncanny X-Men should be the #1 title right next to Batman, and the fact that Uncanny X-Men is barely in the top 10 is got to tell them something.
I would love that because again, I love the X-Men. I think Uncanny needs to be that flagship.
That's like a damn near $10 book, isn't it?
Sometimes.
No. The first issue was,
No excuse.
The regular issue is $3.99.
There's no excuse. I will not listen to it. I will not tolerate any new $10 books that are just a floppy. Get that out of here.
But it was it's let's see. I think that they had the Return of Cyclops was a $7.99.
It was $8. Yeah, it was $8.
Yeah, it was $8.
Jesus Christ.
Now
it was. To get people in the comic shops, and these prices scare them away.
It does.
It's hard as hell to get them in there, and then they see the price, and it's like, well, I'm not buying nothing. Oh, come on.
I don't have any problems getting people into my shop. I have no problems at all because I sell back issues.
Yeah,
there you go.
80% of my sales now are back issues. I have zero problems getting people into my shop. So,
question, Doctor.
Yo.
Now you mentioned that the original X-Men were brought back to the past. Were they mind wiped? before they went back.
Oh, sort of.
but not really.
They were mind wiped, except for Bobby.
I knew you were gonna say that too.
Yeah.
I mean, of course they couldn't.
They just addressed it in that Uncanny X-Men Winter's End issue.
Yeah.
So
he finally went off on Jean Grey for mind raping him.
Yeah.
So basically, they retconned Bobby to have been gay this entire time.
Yes. So all of his time with Opal and the war he fought with against Sunfire and the Silver Samurai. Apparently,
it was about his yaoi porn at home. Oh, boy.
No, he was thinking about his beard. And so Opal and Polaris were both his beard, and he hates people because they took his beard away. So
who posted that picture of him in bed with Namor? And I was like, I'm uncomfortable. I was like, who's
I have no idea.
It was Rick.
Oh, it was Dakin. It wasn't Namor. Namor, at least Namor's straight. Thank God.
I thought it was the merman guy. I was like,
no, it was Dakin. That was Dakin. Dakin.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think you were right. It was Dakin.
But it didn't make any sense. If he went back to the beginning and he was gay the whole time, why is he still trying to come out? Like you've been out since you were
a
like
30-year-old man. Yeah. Stop acting like a child.
You've been out of the closet for years now. Why is it still an issue?
Well, if George can act like a child, I can too.
Well, yeah, no, because I mean, Marvel's sliding timeline puts it at about 15 years now, and somewhere between 13 and 15 years. So, and Bobby was 15 in X-Men 1, so he's like 28 to 30.
Yeah.
And apparently he's still coming out of the closet.
Still fighting that bigotry of homophobia that everyone seems to have.
Oh, God.
He should be fully comfortable and happy, and his parents should be like, oh, yeah, he's been gay for 15 years now.
Yeah, you still invite him over for Christmas and Thanksgiving. It's not a thing.
One of the SJW is going to figure out that nobody cares if somebody's gay. No one cares.
No one cares.
There's no homophobia. Leave characters the way they are. Stop.
The most homophobia you're going to experience is another guy going, "Ooh, you're kissing." I don't want to look at that. Have fun. That's what you're going to see. That's as much homophobia as you're going to find in the world today.
Yeah, we were at a county fair. This is in the middle of Appalachia. All right, this is like I live in the middle of Appalachia. Okay, the middle of the most red area of this entire country, except maybe like in the middle of Nebraska or something.
Yeah,
this is the reddest red in the United States of America, and they're two guys holding hands, kissing in front of the Ferris wheel, and not a single person came out to beat the shit out of them, tie them to the back of a truck, and drag them down the road.
I think everyone's got the real homophobes have better things to do.
I can tell you, the only thing that happened to them was people were going, "Ugh, can you just wait and do that in the parking lot so that we don't have to look at it?" But that's going to be the same way. If it's a guy and a girl,
a little weird. Yeah.
You know, if it's a girl swallowing a guy's tongue out in the middle of out in the middle of the county fair, they're going to do the same thing. Ugh. It's just nobody cares anymore. They don't care. Stop acting like it's a freaking issue. Let it go.
I think people do care.
Narrative so good, so sweet.
When a telekinetic uses their telepathic power to force someone to be gay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's when you've crossed the line.
Bobby. I know, Bobby. Come on. that was how the whole. She just had that look, and he was like, "What?"
You know,
I don't know what you mean, Gene. It's the dumbest. Come on, Bendis. I was so mad at that issue.
Yeah,
I remember that was the issue. I was like, I think I'm done.
There's a reason why Iceman sells 5,000 copies. I'll just put it that way. There's a reason why, and it has nothing to do with homophobia and everything to do with just screwing continuity just to push your agenda.
And they made their character terrible and unlikable. Now he's the worst stereotypes of 80s gay people.
Yeah, I don't see gay people like Bobby. I don't see gay people like that at all. That's the most cartoony, fictional kind of gay person I've ever seen in my life. I know gay people. They're pretty normal looking dudes. They just like dudes. That's all they do. They're normal looking guys.
Yeah. I've always opposed the whole a character portraying themselves in the way just because it's something that they want to have other people see. You know, you don't need to flaunt who you are. We understand who you are. You know, we don't have to see.
Okay, I got a buddy in high school that when we got out, he eventually came out as gay to us, and he started doing that whole lip thing. We called him out as bullshit. Like, dude, you didn't have that 4 years. You're full of shit. Get rid of that lips. All right, shut up. He's like, right. Yeah, you're right.
Like, it would have been more tasteful. You know, I don't have a problem with you know, Bobby Iceman being gay. I don't have a problem with it. It's just the way he's portrayed as a gay person, which gay people don't portray themselves as. You know, they're just like any other person. You know, when I walk down the street, you know, I'm not seeing, you know, someone who's acting, you know, like a drag queen. You know, you're gay, okay, I get that, but you're not flaunting it. You're not acting. You know,
you're not flaunting you're straight, are you? That's a weird thing to say too. How do I flaunt that I'm straight?
Exactly.
I'm gonna fuck that pussy. You don't do that.
What if that one issue recently where Bobby comes running into the room and he's like got a cake over his head and he's going to smash somebody. He hears like a sound in the other part of the house and he's like, I'm going to get you with this cake. I'm ready. And it's like, you're an Omega level mutant. Stop acting like a queen.
Yeah, it was this Dr. Seuss book.
Yep. And you know what's funny? If you were to swap characters, that could have worked with any other Marvel character. If you take Iceman out of that and put Honey Badger in that position, it would sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do have to disagree with one thing. I do have an issue with them making Bobby gay because I think it's really dumb to take an established character and completely do a huge personality change like that. Why do leftists not have any confidence in creating a new character that's gay?
Because they don't have any. They have no imagination.
Yeah, why do they have to go through an established character and change something and make it more
work for it?
Because then they would actually need to make a character and not
there you
a
go.
checklist.
So whenever I see any established characters getting changed like that, I'm like, no, you're just not creative.
What they're doing
don't accept it.
What they're doing is subversive in the sense that they take something established that people know and are already familiar with, and they twist it, hoping that twist permeates through the rest of the people who follow this character. So Iceman being gay, people who've been following Iceman for as long as he's existed, you know, maybe they'll feel compelled to come out because they're gay or something of that nature. That I think is what they're trying to do. They take established characters, twist them. It's like why create something brand new that no one's going to latch on to? We can take these existing characters, twist them to our perspective, and then let things happen. Let things fall where they may.
Like, how great would it be if they just made a new character that was gay and accepted, and everyone just didn't give a shit? I think that would do a whole lot better for our culture and our society.
It wouldn't, because look at how they're portraying Iceman.
Yeah.
Look at how they're portraying Iceman.
They couldn't dare not exaggerate.
Grace would still write it. So.
Seeing Grace creating a brand new gay character, writing him the same way he writes Iceman, the character's numbers would be as bad as Black Mass numbers.
Who's that one drag queen X-Men now?
Good? When is
that one drag queen
Grace
X-Men,
written
right?
anything decent?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I just want to say they have that one drag queen X-Men and Iceman, and it's just like, this is silly. What do you mean a drag queen? That's her power? That's his power? Sorry.
Oh, Shade or whatever its name is.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's RuPaul with the Dark Force powers, basically.
It's silly. That's what it is.
No one reads it, silly. And no one reads it.
Literally, the editors at Marvel need to go, and when he poops out stupid ideas like that, it's like, all right, 15 years in the future, is anyone going to remember this? That should be the number one question asked. Is anyone going to remember that 15 years from now?
No one's going to question Marvel's. No one's going to question any of Marvel's editors because they're all female.
Correct.
Woman is right, man.
here's the thing. I remember 15 years ago, 16 years ago, Marvel did a series of X-Men icons, and a bunch of the team characters from the X-Men got solo books. There was Nightcrawler, Rogue, Cyclops, and Iceman. Iceman's solo series was written by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning and sold almost 50,000 copies every issue.
Nice.
Yet, for some reason, they can't even do close to those numbers today. Just not even close. And it's actually a pretty good story. It was a 4-issue miniseries. Let's see. Issue 1 sold 52,000. Issue 2 sold 45,000. So you're not having these enormous drop-offs the way you do today.
Like 60 to 70%.
Yeah, where you're looking at 60, 70% drop-off from issue 1 to 2. Issue 3 sold 44,000. You only were dealing with 15 to 20% drop-offs from issue to issue. And issue 4 sold, give me a second here. Let's 42,000. So it only dropped 10,000 units from issue 1 through 4.
Mm-hmm.
It dropped 20% over the life of the miniseries. And it was well written. It was a solo Bobby series. It had decent creators, and it wasn't regarded as shit. Now, can you find it in like a dollar bin anywhere? Yeah. Nothing important happened, but it was still a good story. If you want something to read that was Bobby, read that. If you're not reading,
I might look through that because Bobby used to be one of my favorites. I thought Iceman was a really cool power.
Yeah.
Especially when he started splitting, he could like split himself up into multiple ice dudes, and he had consciousness in all of them. That was so shit. I love that. I thought that was a really cool thing he could do. And now he's just a gay guy. That's his power. I don't know.
Now
he gets cold and he's gay.
He's that guy. He's Jack from Will and Grace, with cold powers.
I'll say I never watched that show, but I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like it's yeah.
Go ahead, Bailey.
I was just going to say, I'll take my turn as far as what's bad.
Well, we can move on to the next subject now. What was yours on the bad?
I was going to say that they write 80%. I'd say it's more than 80%. 90% of what Marvel publishes right now is not meant to be read.
That's weird.
It's not read. It's not written for anyone. Yeah, I mean, it's not meant to be read. If you read it, half the time, 1, it doesn't make any sense. 2, it has nothing to do with some type of high adventure or any type of exciting experience, or bad guys or anything like that. It has to do with feelings, sitting and eating cake or drinking something, or exploring their sexuality. It has nothing to do with an action comic book. So, or a hero's journey. There is no hero's journey.
True hero's journey.
There are no real heroes.
There's the backbone of every story.
There's bad guys and there's worse guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what's going on right now. And there are so few characters that are written to be good guys anymore, because guess what? The cultural Marxist ideal is that there are no true good guys. There are no true bad guys. There's just this gray area in the middle, and everybody needs to learn to just accept each other's crap. And it's not written for anyone. It's not written to benefit anyone. The only thing that Marvel does right now is, with the exception of just a handful of books, is to try to get people to accept that being a bad person is okay.
It's very well said. Because that objectivism is really the issue, where I find myself actually relating to villains a lot more than actual heroes anymore, because I think they're more well developed.
Well, I mean, the heroes are the villains now, and the villains are just slightly worse.
Oh, I read that event. That was awful. Axis was awful. I don't want to read that again.
It was, and that's what they do now. That's because you have people without a moral compass, with no ethics, writing these stories.
Well, if you go back to Secret Empire, that basically every villain monologue in that was eminently reasonable stuff, and they just stuck it in the mouth of villains to automatically discredit it. It's what
Do you
they've
have an
been doing.
example?
He was they made the Red Skull talk about how illegal immigration was bad.
Right.
That goes for all countries.
Yes, I know.
Period.
Basically,
Mexico gets pissy too if we get a.
and they made Evil Steve sit there. He had like this 2-page long monologue about how the people don't trust heroes anymore because the heroes just come in and break everything. And you're sitting there going, yes, if I lived in that world, that's exactly the reasonable thought that I would have when, you know, they come in, they break shit and expect to be, you know, you don't hang out with them, that you don't have nobody has a secret identity anymore. Everyone's public. You know, with a few exceptions, you know, they don't know who you are. You expect to be treated like gods by them. You don't even relate to these people anymore. You don't hang out with them. You don't, you know, spend time around them unless you're, you know, standing above them. They don't trust you anymore, and you're too dumb to even recognize it. You know, all of this was eminently reasonable, you know, based on the past few decades of Marvel stories. Those would all be reasonable, you know, opinions of normal people, and trying to show heroes like, hey, you got disconnected from the people that you're supposed to be saving. Maybe do better. And they stuck it in the mouth of the evil guy. So that
kind of weird. X-Men, they do that a lot, where the X-Men will actually openly acknowledge everything bad that happens because of their actions.
Mm-hmm.
And they question whether they should even do it. And you're like, are you guys superheroes or are you?
Oh, what is it? Then you had Jean Grey come in and edit, and she came in and shut down everybody's free speech on the internet, and it was supposed to be a good thing.
Yeah,
you know,
it
she
really
went
gives you a good idea about the writer's mindset there, don't it?
Yeah, because we're dealing with writers who are, you know, shitty people, and shitty people write shitty stories.
But remember, being shitty isn't okay. It's that gray area. You can be shitty. It's fine.
Well, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah.
So
these writers are antisocial, you know, shut-ins that pretty much have no social lives and are tasked with writing mainstream characters, and they're writing from a place of their own insecurities and biases and hatred. That's that, and these are the people that Marvel hire. What's missing from Marvel? What's been missing from Marvel for the longest time? What's been missing from comics for the longest time is an actual bullpen where people actually have to come into the office, do their jobs, have someone overlooking them, and go, no, that's right, no, that's okay, this will work, and then move on. This way you have consistency. This way you have people looking each other eye to eye, and you know, there's no misconceptions as to what should be in a book versus what you think should be in a book. You know, everyone Marvel hires, they're in other parts of the world. You know, they're in California, they're in Pittsburgh, or they're in Portland, and they digitally do their art, and then they submit it by mail, by email or whatever. No one's actually in the Marvel offices. That's the reason why these people are able to get away with the stuff that they do, because, you know, they're not in face-to-face contact with their bosses. You know,
you have a really good point. I never even once thought about that, but yeah, what is going? Yeah, you should be.
I mean, you've got
go
people,
to an office.
Yeah, you got people
this makes
that
sense.
Their daily interaction is cussing people out on Twitter. That's their.
I think I brought that up last week, because these people don't have actual life experiences. You know, this is all they've ever done. you know.
All they
versus
have
the
is inflammatory behavior on social media. That's it. So, garbage people can't write anything but garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Well, and you don't have oversight from people that care about the characters. So you couldn't go and do whatever you want with them.
Dead and gone. Those guys are. Yep.
Yeah. So there should be a few people that are like, I am here to protect the Marvel universe. I
I'm
love
that
you as a
asshole
writer,
you have to get by. Yeah.
but I'm here for the characters and the readers. But there's nobody like that anymore, really.
That should be Joe Quesada's job, but obviously he's fallen down on the job.
I was reading one of those X-Men books
out.
where it introduced Joe in there, and I had to take a picture of it. Like, oh man, greatest animated betrayals ever, right here.
Quesada's on the internet, calling out trolls and giving them awards online, all day. He doesn't have time to think about the readers or the characters or any of the impacts.
You think the only thing he'd have time to do on Twitter is go, this book's coming out on this day.
You're gonna fucking love it.
Yeah, that should be his job. That should be his whole timeline. Should just be him retweeting other writers and artists who are also talking about their work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he should be doing.
He's calling out conservatives and calling them shitheads and swearing at the fans. And
I found out that my owner of my shop where I work at was on Twitter just sucking shitting on customers. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up on Twitter. I work for you. Stop it. People aren't going to want to buy stuff from us because you're an asshole.
Yep.
I mean, you really can't expect much from a guy who literally quit his own creator-owned work to work for Marvel. Like the minute Marvel came running, he stopped drawing Ash. He stopped doing he did like one shots of what's the other character he had? Painkiller Jane. Characters like that he created that he just stopped cold turkey.
I've never even seen these characters. Where are they at?
These Ash is history. Ash is Ash.
Thanos snap.
Yeah, he was Thanos. He was Thanos snap before the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. But I have the entire Ash run from his own comic company called Event Comics that came out back in the day. But the minute Marvel came running, or asking, because he was hot at the time, he was really, really hot at the time, and at the time Marvel was, giving all types of exclusivity licenses or contracts to, people who were trending hot on Wizard magazine, and he once Marvel came calling, he stopped everything. Him and Jimmy Palmiotti stopped everything, went over to Marvel, started doing Marvel Nights, and I'm like, what happened to Ash? I really like this character. I was picking up everything, exclusive covers, this, that, and the third. I was picking everything up, and then he just dropped the cold turkey. Never went back to the character, or maybe he did like a one shot here and there, and the character appeared here and there, but he just gave up completely on the character. So with
it's like your baby, how do you just give it up? Yeah,
exactly. So for an individual like that to just quickly give up on a creator-owned character, the way he's treating Marvel, it just fits his pattern of I don't care.
It's like Todd McFarlane not doing Spawn anymore, just not giving a shit anymore.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be really weird. Because he still comes back to Spawn every once in a while. I think he's on it right now, ain't he?
Right. I think so.
He takes breaks, obviously, but he comes back.
He's not doing the art, but he's doing all the writing.
That'd be the weirdest thing if he just went, I'm done with Spawn. Really, Todd? That's Spawn, man.
I mean, for a while he was writing it because he had Greg Capullo drawing it, and in a certain perspective, I don't like what he did to Greg Capullo because somewhere along the line, Capullo stopped being Capullo and started drawing like McFarlane. So now, whenever I see his art, it looks just like a McFarlane ripoff. So he totally twisted his style just by being the artist on this book for so long.
That's weird because normally the artist starts out like trying to like imitate whoever they're influenced by, and then they get their own style. So you're saying he had a good style and he ended up converting?
He had he had a good There's a lot of artists that have gone through that transition. He had a really, really good style that I really liked. And then it just morphed once he started drawing for Todd McFarlane. For example, Arthur Adams. Love Arthur Adams' artwork, but Arthur Adams' style, at least from my own perspective, imitated Michael Golden, who preceded him. I love Michael Golden's art style. What happens? Arthur Adams started to imitate his art style, and then Michael Golden had to alter his art style because Arthur Adams became so popular, and he started looking similar. So I just find it weird that artists constantly have, that these particular artists had to change their styles because of other circumstances.
Bigger name, yeah.
Oh yeah. For another perfect example, Herb Trimpe, when he was drawing his art, when he was doing Incredible Hulk art, you can tell Herb Trimpe style, especially with Marie Severin doing the inks on a lot of his Hulk work. But then in the 90s, his artwork became extreme. He started looking more like Liefeld.
That's a shame because I really don't like Liefeld's work. I don't want to see people imitating that.
Right, but he was imitating his art style because it was popular at the time, especially when he had that Levi's commercial. So he became a name in the industry, and Herb Trimpe altered his art style to imitate Rob Liefeld. And I was like, oh, what the hell is this? This is trash.
I remember that Levi commercial too. That was really bad.
Here, look, I was looking at something right here. Hold on a second. All right, Mags Visaggio.
Uh-oh.
All right, people are either familiar with that dude or whatever.
I know a Brian.
Yeah. Anyway, but
sorry.
Mags Visaggio. Okay, let's. I was looking at this right here. This sums up the problems at Marvel and DC. Every single review, professional review that I see here, 5 stars. 5 stars from all the writers at Marvel and DC.
No variety. No, I didn't like this one.
For the book, The Pervert.
Oh, that's Michelle
I thought
Perez.
that was Michelle Perez.
Yeah, that's Michelle Perez.
I mean, Michelle Perez. Well, I say Mags. They're both the same anyway. But
Mags does that. She does that Kim and Kim.
Right.
Some Transformers, something or another. Which I thought was pretty ironically funny.
Michelle Perez. I'm just looking at The Pervert right here. I was looking at this, right here on Amazon, and I'm seeing all the reviews by most of the major Marvel and DC writers, all of them 5 stars.
Can't give it a bad review. Someone's going to come down on you. Someone in the industry is going to be like, "I saw what you wrote."
The worst. I read this book. I read this book. Somebody came in and said, "You've got to see this." They had it in their backpack. It's one of my regular customers. Like, "You brought this into my shop." Yeah. You got to look at it. You got to look at this. So I went through and I looked through it and skimmed it, read through the damn thing. The worst, beyond just the immoral shit, this is just a poorly written, poorly drawn, biggest heap of garbage I had seen in months. And this was 5 stars. And
how bad were the depictions of certain acts? Without naming them. Pretty bad, pretty graphic.
A 7-year-old, like a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, trying to, draw pee-pee for the first time. It was, and I was like, this is bad. This is what modern indie comics are trying to emulate now. And
furry transporn. Yay.
That's 5 stars.
That's what I want the comic industry to be known for. Good. Yay.
Meanwhile, Image turns down really good art and writing privileges from really talented people for stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's disgusting.
We have to make that social climate market, guys. Let's go.
Yeah,
these guys will buy our books.
They passed on Andrew Huerta's Sovereign and chose to do The Pervert. So it tells you where their interest lies in what they
about that
want
title
to be
alone.
publishing.
You would not. It's called Pervert. Now we're good. Like, try again. That's not a good title.
I'm sorry, but look at the preview stuff that Andrew's put out for Sovereign, and look
Sovereign just has a cooler name.
Yeah, well, I mean, have you seen any of the preview stuff for it? It looks fucking dope.
It just
It
sounds
is-
better.
His
The
beast,
pervert.
man. His the pervert.
But yeah, I mean, just on the name alone, and then you look at even a single page of the art, and you look at it and you go, oh, yeah, that's a thing that I want to buy. This thing over here, this pervert, is something that is going to be sitting. The only copies, I swear to God, the only copies are going to be in like the gay and lesbian bisender, the GLCC of whatever, the gay lesbian community center of whatever city you live in. Those are the
it's going to be in
only
every
copies that
university.
live.
It's going to be in
Yeah.
the universities. They're
It's gonna
teaching.
be,
this
it's gonna be in the
shit.
school supplies where you have to spend your student loan on. It's gonna be part of your
Yeah,
studies.
you actually have to buy a copy of this for gender studies at the University of Tennessee.
So I purposely
Man, what a
don't
good
have, like,
con. I wish I would have came up with gender studies. I'd be rich right now. Fuck. That's a long con.
No,
That's a good
you
one.
wouldn't. You wouldn't be rich because none of the people that take it have any money.
No, they
That's
get
the
money from the
problem.
bank. I get the money, and then they're poor. It's great. They're stuck with debt. I'm sitting here going, enjoy your loan.
So I have
Should've
like a
came up-
different take. I don't actually have an issue with like a the pervert being produced or distributed. My issue is that it's being distributed by a national company and like being offered nationally. It's not a national product. Like things
No,
like
it's a
that.
niche product.
A niche.
It's a niche product that
Incredibly
should be,
niche.
and should be published by a niche publisher. So Image wasting an opportunity for a national comic on this material that doesn't appeal to a national audience does a disservice to the entire comic industry, and I think it's driving people out. It's the same way with like Man-Eaters. That's not a national book, but it's being
That baffles me too, man. The premise of that book. I mean, they showed like the blood on the fingers. What are you doing? The
But
cover
you guys-
alone makes me go, oh.
I
But you
didn't
gotta
even
think
know
about it
that,
like this.
so-
You have to think about it like this, though. Eric Larson has a book out of his own creation that's practically porn that he's been publishing for years.
Savage
So
Dragon.
his book is right. So his book is essentially the precursor for what you're seeing now. Because if a major publisher who publishes on a national level is putting out essentially porn to kids who can pick these books up for $2.95 a piece at their local comic shop, if they can do that, then there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to publish books like The Pervert and Man-Eaters from their perspective.
Just
Because
seems
it's
sad
actually-
that they're picking up Man-Eaters and Pervert, not the Sovereign, which could have been their next Invincible or Walking Dead long-running series.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
how much money does The Walking Dead make? Oodles is probably a good estimation. How much money do you think
Well-
Pervert and Man-Eaters are going to make?
I see it like this. It makes enough money for them to have given Robert Kirkman creator status as an Image founder.
Partnership.
I don't even
Yeah.
like Walking Dead, but I have to give props to it. Like,
Well,
you're doing really good.
look at Spawn. Spawn is actually good. It's
Almost up
been
to
good
300 now, ain't it?
Yeah, it's
close.
actually good. I've been reading it for the last 5-6 issues, and it's been not incredible, but it's good.
I've debated
It's
grabbing
what I
it.
would
It's $3.
$2.99. You can't beat it. The covers are beautiful, and got Francisco Matina covers. The artwork is exceptional. The storyline is actually a hero's journey.
Like
I
I said,
don't
a
think
storyline
that
doesn't have to be like
McFarlane-
catalytic, like huge earth-shattering disasters. It just has to be a good story. That's all I
I
need.
think McFarlane isn't off the reservation. He's
a
still doing
businessman.
his thing. He's still writing what he wants, and
He's
since he
very
owns-
active on social
since
media
he
about his
basically
product.
owns
too.
part of Image. He does what he wants to do there, but the SJWs that are there have to hate him.
Sure, because he's not
'cause-
shitting on Republicans all day long. Go to his Twitter right now. I bet he's talking about his stupid toys and his whatever art he's working on his cool little tablet. That's all he does all day.
I can count.
Sexy
maybe-
Spawn Sunday he does. He's just fucking excited about what he's working on, which is what
I
every
can-
creator should be doing.
I can count on maybe one hand the number of times I've ever seen Todd McFarlane even discuss politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just doesn't
Late
happen.
night.
It just
Slightly
doesn't
drunk
happen.
Todd. Yeah.
No, if it's slightly drunk Todd, he's hanging out with his friends. He's not
Yeah.
playing around on Twitter. You know,
Like, you don't have to
That's
agree with
it.
him. I just like that
He
he's
has a
always
wife.
talking about his work, and that's what he should be doing. I mean, why wouldn't you? You're working in comics. What a great thing to be talking about. What?
Well, he
Why
actually
would I even
seems to
talk
have
about
a social
politics right
life.
now?
He seems to have a social life. SJWs don't have social lives. You know,
No,
it's
they
just they don't.
So
I would love to see a lot of these indie guys do a second image revolution where, because all I ever see are these one-shot comics getting made all the time. Why don't you guys pull your Indiegogos and make a new publishing house and really fucking try to just bring it back? You could. People, I think, would really donate to that.
Well, I thought that was what
Full-heartedly.
Comicsgate was going to be until
Yeah, that's what I thought until what I'm
Yes.
seeing.
yes,
I'm
exactly.
seeing a lot of greed, and I'm seeing a lot of just me. Where's my opportunity? I'm like, where's everyone's opportunity? Let's do this. I think everyone's
Oh,
ready.
The whole
I
whole
made
thing
$1
with
million. I made $1 million off
Let's
selling
go.
this comic. Well, that's great. Why don't you use that $1 million to actually change the industry instead
Let's
of just
do this.
because it's hard to change the industry by yourself, especially when you don't have individuals on board with the same mentality. I mentioned before, Ethan brought over. He made the money he made because he has a back history of really good work between Marvel and DC.
He's a
So
great
he-
artist. Yeah.
So he brings, I'm not trying to crap on anybody, he brings name recognition to Comicsgate, where a lot of individuals don't have that sort of platform. Now, yes, he does his best to help everyone, to help people who are showing that they're willing to do what they have to do to be successful. But for individuals to expect themselves to be successful on the back of someone else is just not going to happen, and it shouldn't be that way. You should be able to prop yourself up first before you go about asking for any sort of help, and then not expect that help to be consistent in helping you fund your project. You have to do all the legwork. It is your project, no one else's.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
so for individuals to come into the game and say, yeah, I'm Comicsgate, and then at the same time, constantly DMing, someone to be on their stream, put your own YouTube together, put your own stream together,
Yeah.
prop
Be a
up yourself
name.
and see exactly, be a name on. I mean, you got into this business to be a name. Don't turn yourself into a hangers on of someone else. Ethan
Black
Ethan
Camp,
had
what I always hear is that it's hard, and I always hear that a lot. I'm like, well, anything worth fucking doing is going to be a long road, and it should be worth doing. It should
Exactly.
be worth it. Do you want to
Exactly.
hand it to you? Your book's
But
going to be forgotten in 10 years. Fucking
that's
work
the
hard.
reason-
I'm going to remember it.
Right, and that's the reason why I see there's a lot of infighting in Comicsgate right now. It's essentially the haves and the have-nots, and a lot of the negativity are coming from those who don't have anything or don't or aren't where they expect themselves to be. It's Comicsgate is the Wild West. You make your name based on being able to put yourself out there for people to see. If you're not making any noise, if you're not being as if you're not promoting your project as much as you possibly can, you're not going to be seen. It's not just about, okay, let me put up 2 or 3 pieces of art on Indiegogo, and then put out a couple of tweets on Twitter, and then hit up a couple of these guys who have streams to see if I can get on their streams to see if I can make it. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. If you're putting yourself in that arena, then be prepared to pull your weight. It's your project. No one should have to prop you up. And
Should be a great product.
All right, okay.
It should yeah. Sorry.
We did the Comicsgate stream last week. I'm sorry, guys. So
No problem.
we need to wrap up the Marvel stuff because
Actually, I have one. I do have one that is my good.
Okay. Let's wrap it up with a good topic.
Killmonger. The Killmonger miniseries that Brian Hill did with Juan Ferreira was exceptional. I had no interest in the character. I have never cared about Killmonger at all.
He's a villain, right? Is that my
He's a villain.
He's a villain from the original Black Panther Jungle Action series, which I have the entire run of. He's
flexing on everybody.
Yeah, I mean, but I've never cared about the character at all. And Brian Hill made me give a shit about a character that I didn't care at all about. And I just said, well, it's Brian Hill. I'll give it a shot. And it turned out to be excellent. So if you haven't picked it up, all the issues are probably still sitting on the shelf. Marvel did zero to promote this book, even though
that's weird.
It's a solid writer, a decent artist, and it's about a character that got popular after the movie that was, last year, and they did no promotion on it.
And I think that's the main reason why I haven't bought the book, because it's based on the movie version than the actual historical character version.
Well, actually, the thing is, it kind of merges the two. It starts as the movie version, and you kind of end up with the comic version at the end. And I
do get turned off when I see it's like more movie related art. The costume's a little more leaning on I get a little turned off by that.
It's an incredibly well done book.
I understand where Cap's come from.
Oh yeah, I could. Honestly, the only reason I picked it up is just Brian Hill's name. He's a guy that I trust on. I have yet to be really that disappointed in anything he does. So I gave it a shot, and it was really good, and I highly recommend it.
Right.
Yeah, it has a lot more to do with like the movie The Heat than they actually have to do with the movie Black Panther. It's actually quite awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool shit, especially in the first 2 issues, I believe. I'm like, man, this is cool. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing against Brian Hill. I actually like his
Mm-hmm.
writing. It's just the concept of the character that just turned me off, because, like I said, I'm old school, and I'm old school too. I like consistency, and I like continuity, and right now Marvel just has no continuity. So a lot of the characters that they're coming out with that may be cool, because of my continuity bias, it's just not ringing with me.
Yeah. Honestly, it was. I'm a continuity whore, and especially when it comes I'm one of those people that can actually keep track of X-Men continuity, regardless of how absurd it is.
How many time travel narratives there are, you can still keep it. Good job.
I know, with all the time travel, all the nonsense, all the everything, I pretty much have the entire X-Men continuity buried in my head. And
that's great.
This is much more of a Eric Killmonger origin story than a
Black Panther story.
Than a Black Panther story. Black Panther doesn't show up. You know what? I haven't finished issue 5, but through the first 4 issues, Wakanda, I don't even think was mentioned. And it had nothing to do with Black Panther. It was basically the movie Heat, but with Eric Killmonger as sort of like Robert De Niro's character in Heat, and it was really, really well done. So, even though you're a continuity freak like me, I'd say give it a shot. At least here, pirate it, and then if you like it, buy it.
Don't say that.
Well, no, I mean, hey, if he likes it, then goes and buys it.
Actually, I don't have a problem with people pirating if it encourages them to buy later.
Yeah.
No, I don't pirate. I don't need. I don't like digital comics.
I'm with you on that. It don't feel right.
Yeah,
I don't like the way the colors look on my screen.
No.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of digital comics, pirated or legal. I'm a fan of having the physical books in my hand, and
Feels
not have to
good.
worry, and not having to worry about two things: one, being caught downloading illegal comic books, or two, having them pull the comics because I decided I didn't want my subscription anymore.
Mhm.
So
Like I
I'd
know
rather have
Wes
the
is in that
physical copy.
situation where I'm sure you read quite a bit on Comixology, but for a
Yeah.
lot of people, I'm like, you should just walk into your LCS, man. They're right there. They need you. So
It's the
they
same
need you, buddy.
price.
Yeah,
So
they're not
let's
bad.
say about issue 5, if we want to talk about Killmonger. It actually, so Killmonger basically explains how he becomes the supervillain kind of in the movie, but it kind of, like I said, it's not really the same character. But issue 5 is like a 1-year jump in time, and it's awesome. It ends perfectly. You're going to be very excited to read it, Doc. It's such a good revenge story. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'll give it some consideration and see if my local comic shop has it, or if I can find it at a thrift shop that I'm going to be visiting today. I'll take a look through it and see if I can and form an opinion based on what I read.
Dope.
So
Look at that, Doc. You're selling comics. They should hire you for marketing.
we'll consider the wrap up to the Marvel portion of the stream. Lots of good stuff, more bad stuff. Which, it's Marvel right now, so not too bad. So
A lot of the good stuff was old too.
we have Black Cap on the channel. We got to take advantage. There was a great video on Comics Matter with your boy Zach, where he did Black Cap voice, and you're currently in a bit of a Twitter beef with Kwanzaa. What's the deal with that, Black Cap?
Oh yeah, you're back and forth all day long.
Oh man, he's such an easy target. I just had to go for it.
Does he have you blocked?
We have each other blocked, but
And I still see you guys taking screenshots of each other.
Yeah. I'd rather him not show up on my timeline with 10 tweet rants. That just gets tiresome. So I'd rather take him in bite-sized chunks. So I'll let him screenshot me, and then I do my rebuttals based on whatever he does.
Well, you did that bullshit one about you moving the goalpost, and I was like, what? That's not how that fallacy works, stupid.
Yeah, I don't. He uses a lot of big words, but I don't think he understands what a lot.
Yeah,
of
that's what it sounds like he's trying to do.
Yeah, he's trying to sound intelligent, but he's basic. I call him, he's a basic bitch. That's basically the way I see it.
I was waiting for that bitch to come out. Go ahead.
The main reason why I went, I actively went after him, mainly because I don't like the way he's portraying Black people in his books. One, it's insincere. Two, it's false. And three, it just makes us, Black people look like, we're perpetual victims. We have superpowers, yet we're perpetual victims with superpowers. Against aggressively racist white people who just run around with guns and can keep us in our place. That just makes no sense. That in a world where superheroes are all Black, nothing has changed. The trade slave still happened. The slave trade still happened. The civil rights movement still happened. All these things happened. Nothing changed, on a planetary scale, due to the fact that one race of people have powers that the other, that the rest of civilization doesn't have, and we were not able to make any changes to the world. I mean, come on, Ta-Nehisi Coates had Black Panther and his people go over and colonize a whole entire world. But yet here we are on Earth with Black people having superpowers, and everything still happened the way it happened in real life.
Well, that's because Kwanzaa likes to be a victim. He wants Black people to be victims, and
right.
He's a shitty writer, so he's not
Wants to
creative
be a
enough
victim.
to really imagine a world where there would be no racism, because he can't imagine a world where there's no racism because he's a racist.
Right.
Good point. Good point.
Exactly. And what and the thing that bothered me the thing that bothered me the most was the fact that he constantly harps on his association with Dwayne McDuffie. You know, Dwayne McDuffie was a really cool dude. I've had the opportunity to meet him on several occasions myself, and he was a really cool, down to earth, you know, spoke it like he saw it type of person. He never exhibited any of the uh, um, overtones that you know Umfufu is puts in his books. You know, I've I've never you know having those discussions with McDuffie never turned me into this race baiting fool that Kwanzaa is. Never, you know. Sure, you know, the majority of our superheroes are white. I understand that. Look at the era in which a lot of our characters were created. Look at who created a lot of the characters. But as time went on, that changed, and we have prominent black superheroes.
You can almost make a point that if a lot of these white creators were to create a bunch of black superheroes, that someone would probably have a problem with that in today's era. They'd probably bring that up. Yeah.
Well, you know, well, you have a lot of white creators who a lot of white writers who've created black characters, and there really hasn't been that much that kind of blowback. The first person that I can think of off the top of my head is Tony Isabella when he created Black Lightning. You know, I've never heard any blowback from a white guy making a black character.
But I'm just saying, if there's like a mass amount made, people are like, "What's going on here?" It's like just like with movies, like, why isn't a woman directing this movie? Why isn't a black guy?
Well, I mean, if you
I'm
think
seeing
about
so
it,
many black directors now. I'm seeing all these black directors saying that they won't hire white actors, and I'm
I
like,
already saw that movie. That's what they say.
I'm
I think
just like,
Jordan Peele
what?
said that, if I remember right.
yeah, Jordan Peele said that.
What's the deal? I don't understand.
Because
Weird.
of,
We should just be coming together. It's what I think.
it's because of the current climate with the Me Too and down with it's basically down with Whitey 2.0. You know, that's basically what it is, because everyone is, you know, you got all these people coming out talking about, you know, I hate white people, but these are the white people who are posting these comments.
How did we get to segregation again? That's what I want to know. How did we get to segregation again?
Man,
tear down the railroad tracks, people. Come together.
Yeah. I think the Me Too movement predated the new segregation, where now it's white people being segregated as opposed to black people this time around, and it's emboldened people to act this way, and talk in such a fashion, because it's now you know, white is the new black. Basically,
I'm telling you, we're like 5 years away from seeing someone introduce like separate drinking fountains, you know, because we don't want to mix it or something. And I'm gonna go, what the fuck is going on? You're very close.
I don't want to
like,
drink after any white person.
Full
I don't
stop.
want to drink after white.
Yeah, they're gonna have drinking fountains that say "white men only."
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's gonna be this. Oh no. Let's not do that.
Cracker only, and you know, Whitey get to the back of the bus.
All right.
History is secular. Let's repeat. Let's do it again. Fun stuff. Can't wait for Holocaust too.
One thing about Kwanzaa that I've always been curious about, is it an act? Is he just like is he actually portraying like a real life Hooper X?
Well, someone said he works for a company that is intended to drum up this kind of drama. Isn't that?
Works for Weber Shandwick.
I'm wondering how much of him is actually he's adopted this Hooper X persona on media. You've seen Chasing Amy, you know, the power of the black man, you know, and he's like, you know, shooting guns stuff like that, you know, and Ben Affleck, and you know, and Jason Lee, you're just sitting there, just kind of looking at him, you know, and laughing.
Yeah.
How much is that? Is it real? Is what he is real? Is he that really that person, or is it just, you know?
I think it's an online persona.
See, that's the thing. I think it's an online persona, because he doesn't like, if you've ever seen him in interviews, you could look at his posture and just look at the way he gives the interview and tell that that's not him. He's doing it to drum up some sort of
Publicity.
for simply for race baiting purposes. The one image that I took of his that he posted on Twitter, where you have a white cop coming out of a cop car and he just points his gun at a bunch of black kids and just shoots them down indiscriminately. That doesn't happen. That does not happen, especially in New York. That does not happen. No white guy. I'm in my early 40s. Okay, I have never experienced racism in my city. Okay, I've never experienced the type of racism that he's portraying, and I'm from
No
Brooklyn.
one's shot you in your car before?
No, I've never been part of a drive-by. I've never been shot at. I've never had stray bullets fly past my head. None of that stuff. Yes, it's happened in my vicinity, but it's never happened to me directly. I was never part of anything that caused me to that's caused me to receive any sort of personal injury. I've never been shot at. Nothing. None of that. I don't have a prison record. Okay, I have none of that. I have none of this.
Does Kwanzaa have a prison record?
I have no idea. I
doubt it. He seems like a too goody two shoe guy.
No, I don't think he has anything more than a library card record. I don't think he has anything.
Maybe he jaywalked one
time.
time.
His parents aren't like professors at university or something. That's what he strikes me as.
Kwanzaa is a person of privilege, and he's trying to portray himself as oppressed, and he's not oppressed. He is not oppressed in any way, shape, or form. You can look at you can look at the stuff that he wears. The fact that he's even on Kickstarter funding books should tell you that he is not oppressed. If he was oppressed,
seems like he's got his shit together.
He does, and that's the thing. That's the thing. He has it together. He's well off. He's not struggling for anyone. If he's able to sick his lawyers on Zach for videos that Zach put up, he's not oppressed. If you can afford a lawyer,
did that. He did
yes.
that.
Yes.
Over what?
Him
Free
and Mags.
speech? What?
He is Kwanzaa and Mags both sat down. I think it was Thanksgiving, around Thanksgiving time last year, and we're just scouring his videos to flag, and because they were trying to boot him off of YouTube.
Right.
And
how petty you gotta be.
Yeah, I mean that was the pettiest of the petty, and for an individual to sit there and like I said before, sick his lawyers on Zach for putting Zach put up a video of a book that had not come out yet by Kwanzaa, and he was upset because he was like, you're gonna destroy the profits of my book. It hasn't even been out yet. How'd you get a copy of the book before he was even able to put it out yet? That's why he sicked his lawyers on Zach. If you're oppressed, you can't afford a lawyer to do that.
Shit, am I oppressed? I can't afford a lawyer.
So
you're more oppressed than Kwanzaa.
I guess. Whoa, I feel okay though. This is pretty nice. I'm on YouTube. I'm talking to buds. Oppression is awesome.
And there's the quote of the day. Oppression is awesome.
That's going to be the new video of me floating around. Fucking 9 fingers, pro-oppression. Fuck that guy.
Help, we're being repressed.
So for a guy to create books that portray black people in such a light while at the same time being as privileged as he is, pissed me off. And that's the reason why I attacked him the way that I did and made the type of comments that I made.
You are doing some funny irony that the Kwanzaa's biggest enemy right now is another black guy.
Because I'm a black guy who has an opinion. I'm a black guy.
But he doesn't. I'm sure he's really kind of crabby about that. Like, could you just not be black?
He insinuated some stuff about Black Cap's character.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, he tried to call me an Uncle Tom. He tried to call me all this nonsense. Meanwhile, yeah,
Uncle Tom's like the stupidest fucking thing ever.
Which is kind of weird because the whole thing about Uncle Toms are that they're black people who keep the white races, keep them in power by keeping other black people down.
Mm-hmm.
So so for him to call me an Uncle Tom, I mean, where's my white slave master? That's what I'm asking for. Because if he's making this sort of assertion who am I subservient to?
Good question.
The general, the man, I guess. I don't know.
Because
It's almost like you're not your own person, dude. Come on, you're a collective. Come on.
Yeah.
Come
Okay.
on. You have no
Okay.
sovereignty. Come
One of my favorite Twitter accounts. One of my favorite accounts to follow on Twitter is Quincy Johnson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. Quincy loves BBWs. Is his, that's actually his Twitter handle at Quincy loves BBWs, and he's a conservative black truck driver, and he got into it with Kwanzaa once.
I think I've seen this guy around. Yeah.
And Kwanzaa was like, explain to me how you're a conservative black man. And Quincy said, I'm not a victim. When you stop being a victim, you'll stop being the way you are too.
I like this guy's Twitter location is marked as wherever my rig is parked.
And Kwanzaa didn't even reply to him. Kwanzaa just blocked him.
Yeah,
because he had no response to that.
What are you gonna do?
Kwanzaa does not know how to properly respond to anyone who's black and against his agenda. So the quickest way to write them off is by calling them house Negroes or Uncle Toms. That doesn't fly with me. It doesn't bother me. Coming from where I've come from, I have a thick skin. So a lot of the stuff that he says, I laugh at it because I'm like, if you think this is offensive to me, I know that what I'm saying to you is more offensive. I'm not even half trying with the stuff that I'm saying because I'm trying to keep it clean for Twitter for the most part. And because if I really wanted to say what I wanted to say, he'd be crispy crittered.
Off air for a little bit.
As he told me the one time, I've been in several altercations with him, and he says, "You don't know what it's like to be a minority man in America."
Yeah, he can't run shit with me.
I said, dude, I'm a Latino. I'm a Jewish Latino disabled man.
Shut up, Whitey. Shut the fuck up.
Kwanzaa
makes me laugh because he kind
idea
of
what
came
the
out of
hell
nowhere.
you're talking about.
I didn't even know who he was till he started making a fuss.
I have to wear braces to walk because my knees are so screwed up. I have my little handicap parking tag. And
Kwanzaa can walk.
And, it kills me. It's like, well, yeah, I'm Latino. I'm half Latino and I'm half Jewish. I think I may even have you beat on the whole stack as far as diversity stack or whatever, the oppression Olympics or whatever.
If you have more minority in your blood, you're more oppressed. Is that how that goes?
Well, he's also disabled, so
also
disabled.
Up, man. So
Exactly.
but the thing is, I'm not monetizing it.
Mm-mm.
You got to monetize your victimhood, and that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
So that's interesting. I actually want to talk a little bit. My little issues with Kwanzaa, and you guys can keep going. It is the sincerity that Black Cap brought up, because I think if he really, if he wanted to use Black as a means to talk about racism in America, or maybe how we can improve racial relations, I think he would come at it with an honest voice and as an honest broker and say, hey, I want to address this issue. I'm going to do it through this comic book. If you don't want to talk about racism or you find it uncomfortable, don't read it. But if you want to get in a conversation with me, here's my product. I would like to talk to you about it and not lose his fucking mind anytime someone has something bad to say about his writing.
Hey, you're coming off really rational now. I kind of want to read Black, the way you're making it sound. That sounds pretty good.
But that's not what he wants. He doesn't want to have an actual conversation. It's not sincere. He wants to monetize his victimhood. And that's the way he talks. And and his biggest problem is he doesn't want to relate to his readers on a human level. He doesn't want to say, hey, listen, this is what I see. What do you see? How can we make things better? He wants to talk down to people like he's some type of academic. But when you read his words or you hear him speak, he's not an academic. That's his biggest problem, is he tries to talk down to you, but people see right through it because it's obvious that he's full of shit.
When you start talking
Exactly.
down to people, it's pretty easy to pick up on the
Yeah, he's
bullshit.
such
you
a
know?
fake vocabulary.
Yeah.
His vocabulary is so fake.
Yes.
I'm
Disgusting.
sorry, Pele, you're moving the goalpost on that one, and you're wrong.
When you hear like
His vocabulary is fake as hell.
when you hear Ta-Nehisi Coates speak like on these things, and I don't agree with him and everything, but you can tell that he means it, and he's actually articulate. Whereas Kwanzaa wants to be that.
You can't say articulate, man. That's racist.
That's
that a
racist,
white
man.
word?
I'm offended. I'm offended by it. There's too many syllables in that word. I'm very offended.
Articulate. Oh shit.
Kwanzaa is Oswald Bates from In Living Color.
He's Oswald Cobblepot.
No, that
Oh, the penguin, yeah.
Wayne did on In Living Color. That was the prisoner that was prison educated from reading books in the prison, and would just use the wrong big syllable word every time.
Right.
This makes me want to watch Living Color. That was a really good show.
That was a good show.
Yeah.
When Jim Carrey
whenever
wasn't
I
such a
see-
liberal cuck. Ah, man, good time. Yeah.
Whenever I go to Kwanzaa's page and I see those big red posts with white letters all in them, I'm like, oh God, and I read them in the voice that Zach gave him, so it comes off funny while also being uninformative. It's just so, it's like the presupposition of the magnitude of the inflection of the.
I can't read Kwanzaa's text or tweets except for in the Zach voice.
Yeah,
Zach
exactly.
Kwanzaa
That's the way it
voice.
comes out every time.
He ruined it. Yeah.
The comic book Black
Zach
is about the emancipation of the black man in America. But we must be free and shake the chains.
Shake the chains. That made me uncomfortable as a white guy. Don't say that.
Every single thing that Kwanzaa types sounds like the Kwanzaa voice, and he has been memed to death. He will never recover from this. Everyone from now on for the rest of his career will just hear the Kwanzaa voice whenever he tweets. It's just that simple.
It's it is hilarious, but it's kind of one of the things Zach's voice on it is perfect, because like when you read it, you're like, oh, that is that's the guy that's talking. But a lot of what he says is really incendiary. It's easy to laugh at because it is funny when you read it in the voice, but when you get to the heart of a lot of what Kwanzaa is saying, it's actually pretty gross.
I just want to point out my new profile picture.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I mean, Kwanzaa is gross. He is just he's a.
We lost Black Cap.
Oh God. He's a disgusting, puerile individual. He's race baiting. He's a race baiting, hypocritical asshole. So there's not much.
Yeah, he doesn't take criticism at all. Anytime you criticize him, it can't be because of him. It's because of your issues. Yeah. You don't even know you're racist. Okay, that's where we're going with it. But I guess Black Cap's out, so that was kind of his segment. I'm not sure if he had to go or he lost connection, but if you're listening, thank you so much for joining the channel. What's that?
Did we offend him? Did we offend him? Did he?
I doubt it. I think his number just got weird.
I don't think that's what happened, but I really enjoyed having him on the channel. Hopefully, we'll get him on the channel again in the future.
Oh hell yeah!
But yeah, he's a great guest. So let's get moving on. There's a really big thing that we kind of been talking on the channel, but might as well give it a little bit more. Is the reports of IDW Media hiring JP Morgan to oversee, basically looks like probably their sale or maybe a new investment. It doesn't sound like that could even happen, but What do you think about that, Paley? Is it exactly what we predicted? Do you think that it's going to be pieced off and sold to a competitor, or is IDW just going to go away?
I don't think there's anything to buy. They don't really have any valuable IPs of their own.
Yeah,
They
it's
just
all
publish-
just
They do have the
licensing, right?
licenses.
Yeah.
You know, depending on the time and the contracts, they could have those for a
I
while.
understand they have the licenses, but they can't trade or sell those licenses to somebody else. If they try to do that, then they go back to the original license holders.
Okay, so they couldn't just. But could
They have to publish them
Black
themselves.
Horse buy IDW and keep publishing them, you know, under Black Horse, but call IDW?
Dark Horse, yeah. They
Or
could do
Dark Horse, I'm
that.
sorry.
They could do that, but they can't just like sell the licenses they have now.
They couldn't start publishing
yeah.
Ghostbusters under Dark Horse.
But the problem with that is that the editorial staff won't go quietly. They won't leave. They'll try to make it where, okay, you can buy us, but we want to make sure that we still have jobs. So you would end up with a situation where you're actually moving the problem with you where they go. So you would have the same SJW idiots who ran it into the ground still in the same positions they were before. And I don't think that anybody really in their right mind would want to do that.
But
I mean,
it's the shareholder, the major shareholder that loaned them it was like $25 million. It's well over that now. He's the one that's heading it up. You know, he's the CEO now.
$28 million.
Was it $28 million?
Yeah, they're like $100 million in debt now. So
yeah, so I imagine he's trying to recuperate some of his cash. So for him, I don't think he could give a shit about any of those guys. I think he just wants his money back. Right?
Yeah. Well, I don't see how it's going to happen though. I mean, the company is literally worth negative $100 and something million. So, you know, I don't, unless they would have to be able to publish hundreds of thousands of comics a month, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of each major property a month, just to start recouping some of that money. So
yeah, because their publishing line isn't the one that lost them the money. Like it's not profitable. I looked at all this stuff, and you know the publishing division cost them $3.5 million of I believe it was a $38 million loss they had last year. But mostly it was they decided to go in on like producing TV programs and lost their ass basically. Welcome back to the channel, Black Cat.
Yeah, I don't even know how.
Thank you.
I don't know how this just tanked like that. It was just. I was looking at the profit.
My apologies, fellas.
I'm actually offended you're not on your computer.
Okay.
You're on your phone.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not racist, but I'm a PC master racist. So
what happened with IDW was they have Winona Earp, which is on TV, and well, the problem is they have to co-fund it.
Yep,
and they hope that they make the money back in not necessarily the syndication, but selling streaming rights. Mm-hmm. And I think Netflix has been lowballing companies recently since they're kind of going all in on original content instead of being a clearinghouse for everyone else.
It used to be just put anything up on Netflix. That was the joke, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well,
no matter what it was, greenlit, boom, Netflix. You're good.
Well, I mean, that's still the joke, but the point was that most of their content was still from
external
television.
Yeah,
it was external. It wasn't internally produced. It wasn't their own content. It was, they buy the streaming rights for Friends or for, the G.I. Joe cartoon or whatever. And they'd have it for a year or 3 years or whatever the duration of the contract was. And they made one payment and they hoped that they gained enough new subscribers during that period to offset the cost. And if, nobody was watching the show that they bought the rights to, they wouldn't re-up the rights.
Right.
But now that they've gone in so much on their own content, I'm pretty sure that they're just lowballing everybody for, TV show rights. It's the reason, because everybody's already going to, well, we'll make our own app. Nonsense. But apparently IDW got forced to co-fund Winona Earp with Sci-Fi, so they're splitting production costs, and I don't think they're making their money back in ad revenue and sale of the streaming rights. And they keep thinking that, and they've made two, I think they've made two, at least one or two, if not more, pilots for Lock and Key. And none of these have been picked up yet. So they keep throwing money into production for a pilot for a show. Nothing's being picked up. And they're, and all, it's not like their comic stuff can kind of float it even a little bit to have one miss on a TV show. But having 2 or 3 or 4 misses on funding pilots for stuff every year, other guys have talked about it. Peter Samedi got asked about, well, would you, be interested in any of these, if IDW goes down, would you be interested in any of these licenses? He's like, I'm not interested in any licensing. By the time you pay the creative team, pay the licensing fee, deal with all the editorial oversight and getting approval by the license holder, you can't do anything interesting to actually make the product, desirable enough. And you're still only aiming at 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 fans, like hardcore fans. That's not enough. That's barely above cancellation rate without paying a license fee. Paying a license fee on top of that, no, you're not making any money.
Plus, also,
it was one. See, here's the thing: IDW. Remember, do you guys remember where IDW came from? A lot of it came from a lot of the guys that left Wildstorm after the whenever they were shutting down before they shut down the actual Wildstorm division, but when they were starting to get a lot more oversight from DC in New York, and instead of being kind of their own thing that Jim had just sold to another company, now they were starting to get editorial interference from New York, from DC corporate. And so a lot of the guys from, there was probably about a half dozen people from IDW or from Wildstorm that quit and started IDW. And they brought a couple of guys that had been really big in pulling licenses for Wildstorm. Because remember, back then you had Warhammer. The Warhammer, they did a Warhammer comic through Wildstorm that had over 1 million sales. It was never reported. DC ignored it. They were selling. They did the first issue sold over 1 million copies.
Why wouldn't they report it though?
DC didn't want to license things. They didn't want their because
even with the success of 1 million copies sold,
doesn't matter. It's
wow.
DC Comics doesn't want their subsidiary company that licensed something from somebody else to outperform Batman and Superman. And it's the reason why they started interfering with the Authority that's the reason why, because the Authority started outselling the Justice League. And so they started, it was Paul Levitz. Paul Levitz started interfering because the Authority was outselling Justice League. They didn't want their subsidiary company to outperform their parent company, and they definitely didn't want a licensed product from that subsidiary company to outperform the flagships of the parent company. So they killed it, and they started killing all of the licensing. Anytime a license would start getting successful, DC would start putting their foot down. So a lot of the guys that were handling the licensing went with the IDW guys, and that's what they did. They saw that they had success. And it's one thing when you're selling 1 million copies of a Warhammer comic. It's something entirely else when you're selling 3,000 copies of My Little Pony or whatever the hell the licensing that IDW has.
So one of the interesting thing with IDW is one of their best lines is Ghostbusters. It actually has like a really strong following, but the license owners basically forced them to combine the original Ghostbusters and the remake Ghostbusters into one comic book world and essentially tank the book like with a little event. So, already narrow margins, with like 7,000 copies, and all of a sudden it's down to 3,000 and you're losing money.
It's kind of a weird concept to cross over Ghostbusters over all the different types that are out.
It's called crossing over.
That's kind of a weird thing to do. You got they did the cartoon, the comic, the extreme Ghostbusters, if I remember right, and then they did this stupid new movie. It's kind of a weird thing to do. I didn't see that work.
Essentially forced to lose money by the license owner.
I see what you're getting at, Doc. This makes terrible good sense.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good idea.
And I know G.I. Joe got really upset with Sitterson, and I think he's the reason that Real got fired, right?
There's a good reason.
Yeah, because
there's a really good reason why they got pissed off over Sitterson.
Not that fat lesbian one.
No,
man,
the 9/11
one characters.
I don't remember which one we're whining.
It's
they're actually the same one.
Yeah, it's because he made that
the
comment
fat
about
lesbian
9/11.
Was in G.I. Joe that was written by Sitterson.
I just remember the most unfit looking Marine.
but no, the reason why he's really gone is because of his 9/11 comments.
Exactly.
Oh, so many things happen. What did he say? I forget.
He
was the one that said
self-remembrance for people that weren't there for the tragedy.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was a really stupid move.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he pissed off. He pissed off the guys that run and spend their time on like the Joe forums.
He would have done better if he actually literally shot his foot with a gun.
Yes,
much better use of his time.
He said something about the first responders deserve to die.
That part.
Wait, no, that was Coates.
Yeah, Coates said that. Coates said that.
Where he talked about how
I didn't think there were people.
Comics.
Ta-Nehisi where he said that first responders, he didn't look like them as people. He didn't look at them as like they were people.
Yeah.
What wrong with you to even think that, let alone say it? What's wrong with you?
The person that put him on Captain America.
And that's what I was about to say. And I was just about to say that because it's kind of ironic how he says that, and then now Captain America is an Antifa.
No,
first responders risking their lives to go into a collapsing building to save other lives. Those guys are dicks. Fuck those guys. Who thinks that?
Yeah.
Well, he basically, that those people, the people that were in those buildings, according to him, deserve to die. So going in and trying to save them, was, it's,
if I ever get like that, guys, make sure to slap me very hard. Right in the face.
It's hard to put myself. It's hard to put my own mind into that type of dementia, into that type of,
Does it get mad at firefighters too for putting out fires? Oh, what are you doing? Just let it burn.
Are you putting out the right kind of fires for the right kind of people or not?
Is that that's the problem?
I think his whole mindset was
back on the topic. The licensing doesn't pay. I mean, if you're selling 1 million copies of a licensed book, then you can start subsidizing other projects out of it. But when your best licensing are selling sub 10,000, how do you make money on that?
The margins are so thin.
Yeah, how do you possibly make money when you're paying a license fee and you're paying a creative team and you're paying publishing and you're giving the diamond
rated.
discount and the retailer discount and everything like that. How do you make money?
Yeah. So you guys don't think that a competitor will try and pick up the publishing portion of IDW as they chop up IDWN?
Probably not likely. We'll see, but I don't
I think
The
that-
licenses will obviously be picked up eventually.
well, they can't borrow any more money.
No, I read
At all.
their credit report. It's like it's really bad.
Their credit right now, they can't
They're
even
considered
they
a
can't
high
even
risk.
There are three major bond issuers. All right, for corporate bonds, none of them will even talk to IDW now
Their
because
credit rating
they,
is a CAA1. I read about it. It was
well,
terrible.
they didn't pay back the corporate bonds that they were already due. So they went from junk bond status to no bond status. So I don't think anybody would be willing to take that risk.
They'd rather just see their licenses go back on the market and bid for them competitively.
Yeah, I think
Makes
so.
sense.
Yeah,
That's
I wouldn't
too
want to
bad.
deal with those people. I wouldn't want to deal with any of them. So
Yeah, and I can almost guarantee, Hasbro won't be looking at Disney as a potential license holder. They wouldn't trust them, especially with competing film products.
Absolutely.
There's no way that they'd look at Marvel. DC also unlikely, but maybe, possibly.
I figured Dark Horse would be the best candidate.
Probably Dark Horse, yes.
But, there always could be a new market competitor. But let's move on from the
Market
IDW thing. I wanted to talk about one more topic before we did our weekly recommendations and wrapped it up. We're coming up on 3 hours here. So Marvel just announced that they signed Teenie Howard to a Marvel exclusive deal. Doc, what do you... Oh, Doc's out. Paley or Doc, you're still in?
Yeah, I'm here.
What did you think about this Marvel exclusive deal? Why are they locking in exclusive creators like for third and fourth tier talents like Teenie Howard and who's the big X-Men when Rosenberg? Like, it makes no sense to me.
Because they're cheap. Because they're cheap. They have a low page rate. You can stuff them onto anything. They don't have any options, really. DC won't touch them because they haven't sold anything. They can go back to Black Mask or some shit like that, but they don't make any money there. So they settle for the little pocket change they get from Marvel. Marvel keeps its creative costs down, and they can stuff them onto 7 books.
Yeah, because she's all over Star Wars starting in June. Terrible.
Yeah, she's going to tank that franchise. I mean, it was already
Jodie Hauser already did
How do you
that.
tank Star Wars more?
Yeah,
We're in the Meridian Trench right now.
Yeah, Jodie Hauser at least was able to just literally plagiarize, and the Thrawn series.
Yeah,
and then, but no, Teenie Howard's gonna. She's a bad writer, that has never written anything that's sold anything. I mean, you're going to have her, and they can't afford. I think they've realized that now that Star Wars sales have kind of flattened out, they can no longer afford to keep their A-list talent on that. So, well, yeah, like Jason Aaron was, he was probably one of their higher paid writers. Sal LaRocca was probably one of their higher paid artists, and they kept using them on Star Wars stuff. But Star Wars stuff isn't selling, so they're gonna move them back over to the 616 books. Hence the reason why Jason Aaron's finally doing his War of the Realms thing, and then took over Avengers, and has been on. Now he's been on Thor, but taking over Avengers and Conan. That's why all of a sudden he's working back on the Marvel universe titles instead of the Star Wars stuff, and it's the reason why Salvador LaRocca got moved back to X-Men, because X-Men's actually started to pick up sales, which is interesting, which is one thing that I am kind of happy for. They're rebuilding themselves. All it took was the same thing I've been saying for 5 years of get rid of all of the characters nobody gives a shit about.
Go back to the
I want to know about this Shade character. That's my favorite one now.
Yeah.
That guy needs his own solo. He needs his own mini event. That's what we need.
Yeah.
More Shade, more drag queen.
But so they can't. They're going to keep sticking cheap talent on books that don't sell.
Yeah.
And she is an easy grab for 3, 4, 5 Z-list titles every month, and it's not like anybody's going to edit her anyway. So just stick her on there. Whatever garbage shoots out is what gets printed for those couple of issues. They're not going to sell anyway. As long as they get sold to a store, they don't give a shit. As long as Diamond doesn't have to do a blowout on 10,000 copies of it at some point, then they don't care.
So, Paley, you're in the business. I actively avoid anything with Tinny Howard. Like, if you could put anything that I love and you put Tinny Howard on there, I won't consider buying it. Is that the general feeling amongst readers or your store? Does she move anything?
No. There's certain creators that, I think that the reading public is a lot more savvy now than they ever have been before. And what do you mean by that? One time, most people didn't realize who was writing their books. I mean, you had certain people that were like, they just said, okay, well, the book seems to be okay now, or it's not okay. Something's wrong, but they didn't really associate names with the writers. Really, the artists maybe, but not really writers. And I think that kind of changed about the time that, back when we were in X-Men, people knew who Claremont was. But for the most part, even then, people weren't very familiar. It wasn't until like Batman with Grant Morrison that people really started paying attention to who was writing certain things. And then you had Mark Waid, love him or hate him. Some people just started following him because they liked his style of writing. Maybe not so much the content, but the style that he wrote with, or that he does write with. But it's not like writers specifically move books, but bad writers will stop a book in its tracks now.
Because I have a couple of writers that no matter what they write, I'll try it out, like Venditti. But for the most part, I have a huge list of writers I won't even sniff anymore because I read one of their comics and I'm like, no, this is a bad writer.
Yeah. Well, it's like Bendis on when Superman, had a lot of people were going, oh wow, Bendis is going to be on Superman. It's going to be great. And I was like, I think you might want to. You might want to go back and read Man of Steel. And
do you remember his comment about that? Like, he said that Clark was always Jewish. It's like, Ben is self-inserting again. Good job, buddy. I was like, Jesus.
And he's I know that people joke about people being cucks and stuff like that, but that's his lifestyle. He likes people come in and bang his wife. He likes to watch that kind of stuff. Neil Gaiman, by the way. He is a cuckold by nature. That's the type of person he is. That's what his sex life is like. So he's made Superman like him because he thinks, oh, well, I really like this. So Superman probably really likes it too, and that that may sound insulting. Okay, I am being insulting right now.
I mean, I'll let you do. It's Bendis. Have fun.
But and that's what Bendis has turned Superman into. He's turned him into a big old fat cuck. Yeah, because that's what Bendis is. He's a big old fat cuck.
Well, no.
The fat and the cuck and the big.
Now he's a skinny cuck.
Yeah.
Did he lose weight? No.
But
cut by his own dad.
But I really don't need to think about Bendis, the guy whose head looks like a testicle, being cucked. Now that's.
I definitely don't want to hear about him coming, which I had to read about for a few weeks. That was weird.
But,
it shoots out the top of his head.
Well, you had the whole thing. What was it? Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor was banging his wife.
It was implied.
Yeah.
Huh? It was
Heavily
implied. She was banging Lex Luthor. She was probably banging Jor-El when they were running around in space.
How come this doesn't feel like Lois Lane to me?
Lois apparently is just a big old whore. And
Lois seems like she has a lot of integrity, and I think would be very proud to be fucking Clark.
Let's clarify this. She's a slut. Whores ask for money.
Well, okay. Well, I'm sure Lex had a lot of money. But anyway, and that's. But anyway, back on the points you were talking about as far as writers. Writers, bad writers, really tank books. And certain people that they just see their names on there, Ta-Nehisi Coates. Now people are like, he's a communist. I don't want to read that. Or
that does bother me.
And I've got a lot of customers now that are just like, I've seen them on Twitter. I've seen the way they behave, and I don't want to buy their books anymore. So, I don't buy their books because my customers won't buy their books. And they think that they can say anything they want on social media and it won't impact their careers, and they're mistaken because people are now becoming aware that there's a really shitty people out there, and you can see it on their social media pages.
So you also fail Simone.
Yeah, fail Simone. I mean, she
had a pretty good reputation.
She actually wrote some really good Justice League back in the day. She did a couple of really good series, and now, look at Plastic Man, sold 6,000 copies.
It's a shame because I like Plastic Man. I would have read that, but she's such a bad writer, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I would have read it if it wasn't for her.
Everything's about eating and, girl power. All the girls love each other. Yay, we're all best friendsies.
Well, she has no spine even. Because remember when Plastic Man was looking like Harley and he had a bit of a bulge? Like, unnoticeable. I don't even notice it, but apparently someone had a problem with it. And she I guess they edited it out on reprints. She's like, no, get rid of it. Have a spine for your work. Say, yeah, he's a dude. Chill the fuck out. He's Plastic Man. Chill out.
And it was, but anyway, she's her career is gone, because she became too political.
She sabotaged her.
Inflammatory. Yeah, she sabotaged her career. She destroyed her reputation. Every single one of these people is destroying their reputations online. Bill Sienkiewicz is another one that's destroyed his reputation online.
Likes and retweets aren't going to pay your rent. Okay, so I don't care what cool little social buddies you got.
All these people that come into my shop now that are saying, I don't want to buy anything from these people because they're shitty people. So what else is there for me? And I'm pointing around going, well, there's stuff from the 70s. There's stuff from the 80s. Al Ewing has finally decided to shut up. You might want to check out Immortal Hulk.
That's like the third time you brought up how much you don't like that guy. I love it.
Actually, in the comments, there was an independent creator that said that Al Ewing got him banned from a Comic-Con. It was about
nice guy.
I don't doubt it.
It was Carl Oro.
Oh yeah.
Carl? What's up, Carl?
I think he's gone now. That was like an hour and 50 minutes ago. He said Al Ewing had me banned from a convention as an independent creator because he demanded that organizers remove anyone who was sympathetic to or would not write out denounce Comicsgate. And had him removed.
Remember, he told me that once actually on the Turtle stream.
I have to say,
people are like.
But I have to say, who in the hell is Al Ewing to do that? The man has never put an ass in a seat anywhere. It's one thing if it was
Yeah,
Grant
but how many
Morrison.
Twitter followers does he have?
Not many. That's the
what
problem.
matters.
It's not like he has a huge Twitter following either. He's never put an ass in a seat. He's never sold a book on his name. There is never. He is, okay. He's doing a very good in Invincible Hulk or Immortal Hulk. He's, what? I really liked his 2 runs of the Ultimates. I've liked a couple of things that he's done. But the man has never put a fucking ass in a seat in his entire career. And the only thing he's done is sold on the name of the product of the character he's writing and not on the name of himself.
Sounds
So
like maybe
who in the
salty. Yeah.
So who in the hell is Al Ewing to make a demand of anybody? There is exactly 0 people attending that convention with the sole intent of seeing Al Ewing.
All right, so we're gonna somewhat end it. That'll be the end of the debate here because we're right up on the time.
Followers. If you wanted to know how many followers Al Ewing has, 9,600. 9,600.
That's So let's do our weekly recommendations. Doc, what do you got for the viewers? What should they check out?
You know what? I'm gonna actually go with a modern book this time, and I mean I gave my earlier recommendation for the Killmonger, but I'm gonna do this is different. You know what? Even ignoring the editorial fuck ups all over it, Uncanny X-Men is surprisingly good, and I don't want to say this. I really
want it to
didn't
be good
want to.
though.
Yeah, like starting at issue 11, once they swept out all of the D-list X-boys and X-girls that aren't actually X-Men that nobody gives a shit about, with Anoli and fucking Glob. I know Mim Hedrum's probably going to be sitting there going, but my buddy Glob. No, fuck Glob.
He's a throwaway comedic character.
Yes, all of these throw, iBoy and Genesis and the Bamfs and all this other crap that they've loaded to make X-Men all fucking cutesy over the last 6 or 7 or 8 years. It's all gone.
Yeah, the Bamfs were kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, it's down to Wolverine, Cyclops, a couple of the old school New Mutants, half of which like Magic, Havoc, like 2 or 3 of the old school New Mutants that are all actually infected by Warlock, like the Technarchy. So like he's been like, I guess this is. I didn't even bother to. I bought, but didn't even bother to read anything after the first issue of the New Mutants Lost Souls or whatever, Dead Souls thing that Rosenberg did. I had already pre-ordered all of them, but by the time I got to reading the first issue, I hated it so much I just taped up the rest of them and
moved on.
Yeah.
Things to do with your time.
Yeah, but you know what? It's down to a kind of a ragtag group of X-Men that are essentially living out of the back of Harry's hideaway in like the basement because they don't have a mansion. Although, they should go into the old sub basements like they did after they came back from the Outback, or hell, send them back to the Outback, back to that Reavers town. That's what they could do with it, and maybe they're going to. But you know what? It's kind of reminding me of a low-budget version of Outback era X-Men, and I think it might actually be able to get back to that kind of real fun X-Men as outlaws thing, and it's good. From issue 11 on.
Okay, because I read it up to the X-Man guy showing up, and I was like,
No.
Mutant Jesus isn't doing it for me. I gotta move on.
Literally, X-Men 10. I'm gonna
Was this RoboCop?
Here. Spoiler. X-Men 10. Literally everyone from the first 10 issues of the X-Men, except for Jamie Madrox, dies.
Oh, awesome! That's what needed to happen.
And that's where they all end up in that Age of X-Man alternate reality that's going on simultaneously to Uncanny X-Men.
Oh, okay, well that's good news. I'll probably check it out then. I hadn't planned on. I got to see if my shop still has them.
Issue
I'm sure
11,
they have 11 because it's so expensive. I bet they have that
because
one.
it was the $8 book. But 11, 12, 11 through current is actually, ignoring the editorial problems, it's actually really good. I enjoy it.
I think that means a lot coming from you.
Yeah,
With your remarkable Uncanny X-Men history in your head.
and he's salty as shit. So let's move it on to Jeremy. What are your recommendations this week, buddy?
I was really happy this week because I bought 4 new comics versus just the old backlogs. I was really because I don't want to not be buying new comics. Like I said, I want to be in that era that I can be proud of. So I saw 4. I was super duper happy. But out of these, I'm gonna say I'm most excited for Batman Beyond, which is my Bat book because it's the only book that has any kind of Batman relation that's any good right now. I can't stand any of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Terry's awesome. I'm so glad they're doing this. And
is that the last issue of Brett Booth's run? Is that issue 30?
So. 30, yeah.
Okay, that's I think the last issue.
Is that the last one he's going to be on?
Yeah, I think so.
I think I mentioned the last time I recommended Batman Beyond. They're bringing the Joker back. He's an asshole. I love it. So there's no justification for why he's an asshole. He's just a douche. God damn it, Joker! Why'd you kill all the other Jokers? I love it to death. And then the Power Rangers, because I guess I'm the millennial. I have to recommend it. So I buy any book that's got my boy Andros. Am I pointing right at that guy? Because he's the guy that made me want to grow my hair out. So Andros the best.
That's a book that started out really big selling Power Rangers, and now it's just I've got like 3 people that are hardcore Power Rangers fanatics.
Yeah, if you're not big in the Power Rangers, you're not gonna like it.
But yeah, as I had a lot of people start out who were like Power Rangers fans back, boomers that were Power Rangers fans back in the day, and now it's like there's only 3. So I don't know.
And what's confusing about this too is there's the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which is its own thing, and then there's Go-Go Power Rangers. Because I remember I jumped on, I was confused as fuck. I was like, wait, what's the difference? I'm like, well, this one's all right. So it is. I don't like that they did that. I wish they'd just pick one or at least give it a more differential name, because it's both kind of riffing off the theme song.
Oh man,
it's not smart. I don't think that. I do disagree. I think that's a really stupid thing they did. And Go-Go is the weaker of the 2, if I have to admit.
There you go. We got Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Batman Beyond,
which is another millennial thing too, since Batman Beyond came out when I was a kid. So millennial edition comic books.
So Pele, you're the boomer of the group. What are your recommendations this week, buddy?
Okay, the official recommendation from the store this week was Detective 1000.
Nice.
That was the book that we had up, and this is our recommended book for the week, mainly because I ordered like 100 copies, but because I wanted the 1 in 100 variant. But the it's pretty decent. If you want to get a particular cover that I really liked, I like the 1940s edition. That was the Tim cover. Let me pull that up real quick. Make sure I'm not talking out of my ass here. But yeah, Bruce Timm 1940s variant's got the really cool cover with the Joker coming out of a lamp. Looks like a genie.
Bright green logo, right?
But that's if you're gonna get one, probably get that get that cover. I like it a lot. Personal recommendation though is Spawn 295. It's wrapping up to 300 very nicely right now.
Would you say 295 is a good jumping on point?
I'd say about 292. 290,
go back a couple.
292. Yeah, most shops should have them. They've been ramping up printing on those.
Yeah, and every time I'm going, I should get back in the Spawn. Every time I see it on the
you can get them
shelf.
for cover
$3,
price.
man.
$2.99. You can't beat it.
No way.
That's the best price entertainment in comics right now is Spawn. Unless you're actually, I can't say that because we have our buddies over at Alterna Comics who are putting out the business every single week. I want to give them a shout out too.
Buying bigger storage. See that?
Yep. They're buying more storage because they're expanding out. They have a GoFundMe out right now where I think they're up to like $10,000 or something like that. So doing really well. I
saw their little pod. It was really small. we need to go bigger.
Oh yeah, it's like
how do you get
how they've been storing their stuff that way? It's absolutely unreal. Vertigo is going under. Goddess Mode #4, I think, is the last issue. Thank God. Don't recommend anything for Vertigo. Avoid it like the plague. Spawn, Detective 1000 from Marvel. Let me think for a second. Daredevil #3, I think you said was good.
That's the one, right?
Yeah, the Superior Spider-Man. I've had people say that it's decent. That's the one with Dr. Octavius. Basically taking,
It's Chris Gage, so it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, he's a great.
Didn't hate Superior Spider-Man, but I could do without
it. Hulk 181 is being reproduced in a facsimile edition today. If you can find it, buy a copy of it, put it in a bag and board, and put it somewhere safe because they're already selling for $8 to $10 on eBay. Nice. And it's just going to keep going up. So that's my speculation book of the week. Buy a copy, put it away somewhere safe, and probably worth $30 or $40 in a couple years.
So. Awesome. So in the chat, End of Thought says Justice League Odyssey, and then Startager said his book of the week is Jawbreakers. My pick of the week was Daredevil 3. It's awesome. It's one of the best books like I said, it's best book I've read in like six to 8 months. It's like really, it's excellent. It's better than I ever could have expected it to be. The art by Marco Cicchetto is amazing. And it's
good to hear some Marvel loving. I miss loving Marvel. This is good.
Yeah, you should just get the first 3. It's great. The first one's good. The second one's better, and the third one is even better. It's got some great twists in it. Didn't see any of them coming. And then speaking of Vertigo comics, my first video in my signature series, it's going to be out a little bit late, but it will be out tomorrow. It is going to be covering Vertigo and how a pencil neck internet blogger basically took down the entire imprint single-handedly. So that'll be coming out. Also, I will be doing a 5-star review on Daredevil #3. That'll come out afterwards. The priority is going to be the Vertigo video. That's what you can expect from the channel for the next 24 to 36 hours.
Can I make a non-comic book recommendation?
Absolutely, go for it.
Okay, there is an animated DC movie out that's out today called Justice League versus the Fatal Five. Everyone go buy it. It's in the same animation style as the old Justice League and Justice League Unlimited series. I'm fucking pumped for this movie. I'm going to watch it pretty much after we're done here.
Oh, so
everyone go see it. Jessica Cruz is in it. A new Lantern being animated. Mine's blown. This doesn't happen for a Green Lantern ever. So everyone check it out.
Cool.
I don't think even Hal Jordan's been introduced in the Justice League. So still, that's awesome. I'm excited.
Great. So let's wrap it up. I'll send it over to Doc. Where can people follow you, man?
You can follow me on Twitter. That's pretty much the only thing I use, and I'm at Science Jesus on there. So follow me if you want me to yell about X-Men stuff.
All right, Jeremy, how can people follow you? You got a channel? You got Twitter? What you got?
I got Twitter, and YouTube, I guess, but not really. -1digit, at -1digit. And if you want to follow me, I'm going to be stocking Doctor's filing cabinet, so he stores his comics in.
Nice. All right, finally, Pele, where can people follow you, man?
I'm at @just_Pele. Find me there on Instagram, Twitter. Actually, you can't find me there on Twitter this week because I Yeah, I pissed off the powers that be and called somebody who deserved
Back next
bullet.
Saturday.
So, but I will be back on there probably on Wednesday evening, and by Wednesday evening. But yeah, pretty much all social media, just _Pele.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. It was a great panel. Really wish
Well,
Black Cap had made it to the end.
I'm gonna give him a shout out so that
Yeah, do that.
people can follow Black Cap. He is, you can find him on Twitter at blackcap27 and watch him shit post against Kwanzaa. It's fucking great.
No, yeah, no, that is a highlight whenever I see it because Kwanzaa deserves it.
It's quite hilarious.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun.
And
I'm
Kwanzaa
glad we
doesn't
got
know
him
how
on the
to deal
channel.
with him.
Yeah, I'm glad we got him on the channel. He was a great guest. We're definitely gonna have to get him back on. And next week is gonna be the same thing but DC Comics rather than Marvel this time. And thank you very much. Salam Poe.
Later.
Later, man. Have a good one.